In this world, there's two kinds of people, my friend. Those with loaded guns and those who dig. Broadcasting from a Montana wilderness fortress at the headwaters of the Missouri, this is Matt Christiansen Live.
Sharmake Omar says he noticed a woman yelling racial slurs at a 5-year-old African-American boy.
Jeez.
And he felt it was only right to defend the child, record the incident on his phone, and post it on social media.
Did you call him a the child? Did you call the child the word? It is my own business.
If nobody else is going to do it, I'm going to have to do it. I don't have to ask permission, or should I do it or not?
Congratulations, butthead.
The 5-year-old boy, artistic boy. She needs to be found and locked up.
You serious?
Over $250,000 after she called a black autistic child the N-word.
Living with hate, it's very stressful. It shortens your life.
Wow.
I don't know what to say. It's mind-boggling. I thought she was going to get punished for this, but apparently not. She's getting rewarded.
Bingo.
You are fake news.
You sound like a groomer terrorist that need to be deported.
Very fake news.
I can't believe that someone would have so much hate in their heart.
Shut up, bitch!
Great story. Compelling and rich.
All right, America, go to the YouTube right now.
Dude, Matt straight up sucks.
How dare you?
All right, go. In 5, 4, 3. I can't do it. We'll do it live.
Fuck it, we'll do it live.
Hello and welcome to the show. This is Matt Christiansen Live, a proud duct tape production for Sunday, May 4th, 2025. Thank you for tuning in. Making his Sunday debut, sitting shotgun tonight, is my friend, Robert. Now, you may remember Robert from 2 Wednesdays ago. He is the now, regrettably, former leader of my Bible study and a man of many areas of knowledge and expertise. But welcome back, Robert.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
Do you know what day it is today?
I am guessing no.
Does that change your understanding?
No. How could I not think of May the 4th be with you?
Exactly. Star Wars Day. And this is important in the history of my Sunday stream. Never before in the history of my Sunday stream has May the 4th, Star Wars Day, landed on a Sunday. Last time Star Wars Day landed on a Sunday was 2014, before I was doing this. And even the White House got in on Star Wars Day with kind of the classic Trump tweet form, but they botched it a little bit. But from the White House X account today, every holiday Trump says, happy X holiday to everyone, including the losers and, the haters and all. All right, so they did that for Star Wars Day. Happy May the 4th to all, including the radical left lunatics who are fighting so hard to bring Sith lords, murderers, drug lords, dangerous prisoners, and well-known MS-13 gang members back into our galaxy. You're not the rebellion, you're the empire. May the 4th be with you. No response from Mark Hamill as far as I've seen yet, although we're all eagerly awaiting that. Now, Robert, I don't know if you and I have ever discussed Star Wars. Are you a Star Wars guy?
I am not.
Oh, okay. So this is the wrong question for you then.
But go ahead.
Well, the pop Star Wars quiz. Can you identify anything visually wrong with this Trump depiction from a Star Wars perspective relative to what he's saying? And let me give you an added clue. What he's saying about being the good guy.
Mm-hmm. Yep, it's the red lightsaber.
Exactly. So I assume this is AI art, or however they did that. That's the problem. Is you're saying I'm not the Empire, but you got the red lightsaber. It was a cool bit, but just a little bit of whatever. A little bit of duct tape in their production too. I'll allow it. Still good. What's more important? You know what tomorrow is, Robert, from a personal perspective. Whoops. Let me do this. There we go.
Mother's Day, right?
No,
Or is that next
kind of
weekend?
though. That's next weekend though. Mother's Day on a Monday. How have you been handling Mother's Day all this?
It's Sunday. My dates are all jacked up. And somebody told me it was Mother's Day, and I don't even know. My mom lives far away. I don't care.
Next weekend. Thankfully, you're safe. Kind of Mother's Day, though, because tomorrow my wife and I are going to our anatomical ultrasound for our third child. So we will learn first thing in the morning whether it's a boy or a girl. So I'll report back. It's very exciting.
Congratulations. That's great.
Thank you. But in the news tonight, much more important topics. A mom in Rochester, Minnesota, allegedly calls a black child the N-word at a park, has now raised, even more money than accused murderer Carmelo Anthony in response. The Carmelo versus N-word mom war over the last week or so was neck and neck. She's now pulled ahead. We'll break down all the many details. Later in the show, about an hour from now, my friend NeoUnrealist will join. We're going to break down all the latest with Maryland father Kilmar Abrego Garcia. Of course, gone too soon to El Salvador. The story on Kilmar, no evidence he's a violent gang member, no evidence he's a violent man, except the more they look, the more they find evidence of his violent behavior. Few pieces of audio and video to that effect. Plus, there's some other developments in deportation world that we'll discuss. And then later in the show, I have Hoax Hate. And Robert, yet again, I know that you're a listener of the show, so you know what I'm talking about. Looks like there has been yet another case of transgender sexual fraud. It is struck again, and a trans person has taken a beating for it. At least I believe that's what's happened. But this case is very odd in that the transgender fraudster, elderly, like 61 years old. So you're going to help me dissect what exactly happened in this case. I'll catch up with your super chats as well, of course. And hey, speaking of supporting the show, if you enjoy the show, please consider supporting the show. You can do that one time or recurring for as little as $1 a month over on my website, mattchristiansenmedia.com/support. Support for the show not only helps me sustain, but it helps me pay the people who make the show possible. There are perks available for your support as well. And don't forget, there are lots of new graphics available in the merch store as well. T-shirts, mugs, and more. Likewise, merch sales not only support my operation, but they help support the designers who made the graphics as well, all of whom are listeners of this stream. mattchristiansenmedia.com/shop. You can find both of those links right there on the homepage, mattchristiansenmedia.com or mattis.gay, if you can't spell my confusing name. And of course, we got to say hello to our featured listener-owned business for the evening. That's our friends at Western Razor Company. We know we're being lied to on a daily basis by our government, by corporate media, and by razor companies too. Think about it. Their ads used to appeal to your masculinity. And then they took advantage of your sensitivity with aloe strips. They kept adding blades, thinking you wouldn't notice how clogged they get. And the more they changed, the more plastic and disposable they became. The honest truth is that those other razor brands are lying straight to your face. And our friends at Western Razor aren't going to take it anymore. That's why their safety razors are 100% metal construction, made in the USA and made with integrity. The replacement blades are inexpensive too. So you get a great shave and you save money. Because when you buy a Western Razor, it lasts forever, of course. Listeners can get a 10% discount on any order when they use promo code MATT10 at checkout. Don't let those other razor brands lie to your face. Go to westernrazor.com. Order yours today. Western Razor, the last razor you'll ever need. Find all the details at mattchristiansenmedia.com/deals. Deals by listeners for listeners. And there are fresh new scents available from our friends at Hero Soap Company as well. Overmountain is a confident woodsy blend of cedar, fir, and patchouli. Honey plus Bourbon is a strong and smooth, bold, and soothing blend with a little vanilla too. As always, 10% off these new soaps or anything else from Hero Soap Company: bar soap, liquid soap, shampoo, conditioner, cologne, and more. 10% off using promo code MCListener at herosoapcompany.com. 10% off everything from our friends at Hero Soap Company. Promo code MCListener. Well, Robert, the news is not going to be kind to you tonight because all the topics are incredibly awkward and difficult. So a few weeks
back.
It's
okay. I pre-quit my job before I get canceled. I'm ready.
I did text Robert yesterday. I'm like, hey, I know that we'll always talk, topics that are potentially fireable offenses, but the way this is looking particularly fireable. I just want you to be aware. And to Robert's credit, he said, I'm there. Don't worry. So a few weeks back, I mentioned a story about, you're not even safe on the New York City subway if you die. Like Daniel Penny doesn't intervene. You get killed. You're still not safe even if you're dead because the subway degenerates and criminals might desecrate your corpse. And that was because the NYPD at the time was searching for two people. One lady who stole from the dead body. Somebody died on the train. One lady stole from the dead body's pocket. They were looking for her. And then there was another guy who raped the corpse.
That's disgusting.
Or at least was seen engaging in undisclosed sex acts on the dead body. And they just said the New York Times, they're saying had sex with. But we now know that the man who suffered this unfortunate fate, he's a man. So it wasn't like a guy found a woman and determined it was still fresh enough. No, it was a man. Okay? That's what happened here. The corpse rapist has now been identified. I'll just quiz you in various ways tonight, Robert. Can you guess the immigration status of corpse rapist man? I know it's on the screen, but...
Oh, I am sure he went through the process of legally obtaining a green card. I can only assume.
Asylum seeker. Yeah, his practices were not... He was treated poorly for his handling of dead bodies in his home country, so he was seeking asylum here. Arrested last Sunday, Felix Rojas. Yes, he's an illegal immigrant. He illegally crossed the U.S.-Mexico border several times in the late 90s. He was turned back many times. Somehow he got back in and remained undetected for potentially a long time, although they don't know when he entered. He remained undetected until he could no longer contain his lust for dead bodies, of course. He could only hold out for so long. So Rojas now faces multiple charges of rape and grand larceny. And it's so bad that he's actually being held. Now, well, your lawyer mind, your gears are spinning. What, grand larceny, I suppose?
Oh, no, and the rape, I'm assuming those are prior rapes, because I don't think you would be charged with rape if you are having sex with a dead body, right?
I can't remember who was on the show when this story first broke a few weeks ago, because we were wondering the same thing. Like, does it count as I've heard of charges of desecrating a body or something to that effect, like, especially when you hide a body after you kill someone, or like maybe you tear it apart to try to hide it. I've heard of charges in that way, but I've never, I mean, I don't know. I don't prosecute people for these things, and I don't defend them either in a court of law, but I've never heard of rape applied to a dead body in this way.
Yeah, I haven't either. Now, I do not practice criminal law, so for all I know, this is standard. But I suppose when I was going to law school and the professor covered the crime of rape, I never thought to ask, well, but what if the body is dead?
Is it fair game? Is it free for the taking? I don't know. Okay. But yeah, there's the grand larceny question too. So like, does this guy have a bunch of money on him that he stole? Grand larceny, do you know what the threshold would be in value? It's got to be high, I would assume.
Yeah, it would be state dependent. If I had to guess, and I'm about to embarrass myself, but I would think over $1,000, something like that.
Well, it's so bad that he's actually being held by authorities in New York City. And I thought that was because the crime itself was so bad. No, he's actually being held in New York City because ICE put out a detainer on him. And now Eric Adams, who has been browbeaten into submission after they apparently reached some deal to let his prosecution go, now he actually honors ICE detainers in New York City. So this guy is in Rikers or something like that. But the New York Times is still doing the bit. And by that, I mean, he's just a man. Headline New York Times this week. Police arrest a man. No descriptors apply to this man. He's very general. There's nothing describable about him in any way. They say abused a corpse on the R train. Now, how did he abuse the corpse? When we when there's a rape and someone is convicted, do we call them an abuser?
This is beyond words. Abused a corpse.
Yes, he abused it. He was very unkind. He said, that corpse sure is ugly. I'll have nothing to do with it.
He slapped it a couple of times, you know.
And I thought, does this guy not even have kids? They can't call him a New York father? Why not? He does have kids, I guess. And when I say they're doing the bit, I don't just mean the headline. I mean, scroll through the story, no mention of his immigration status, no mention of his border hopping. In fact, they say something that implies the opposite. Mr. Rojas did not have a criminal history and was not listed in the state sex offender registry, according to review of public records. What other public records did you review? Did you ask ICE? Because New York Post did, and they got some information. But he was just he was a church-going family man, according to a neighbor. A church-going family man.
I doubt it.
They talked to a neighbor, a 77-year-old neighbor who last lived next to him a year ago, and said she recognized him as a man. He used to work doing maintenance on the building, part of a church-going family with 3 children, lived on the street for several years, moved away a year ago. I guess didn't pay much attention in church, Robert, and I know you've got some understanding in this area. Now, I've heard of the commandments, no stealing, so he violated that one. Now, you're not supposed to covet another man's wife, I believe. Can you covet a dead body?
You know, I guess it doesn't really cover that explicitly. He was like, you know what? I follow the letter of the law. This wasn't mentioned. Because, I mean, really, how many preachers are up there being like, and please do not rape dead bodies?
It's
So
very
he was like,
specific. Yeah.
Yeah. Free for all.
Now, as far as the dead guy, I assumed it was probably like a drug addict who overdosed on the train, something like that. I don't know how to interpret this because New York Post is saying he died suddenly. So his vaccine injury is what got him. He got Pfizered. They're saying he died suddenly. His name was Jorge Gonzalez, and he's a 37-year-old. They also describe as a family man. Now, I read a separate piece of the New York Post. He is the characterization of family man is from his wife he's been separated from for like 6 years, it said in the report. So how family is family. But the report went on to say that he abused alcohol in his life, just like the guy abused his body. He just, he abused the alcohol, but he was measured with it. But barely not. Suffered from cirrhosis. So he had done liver damage, significant liver damage from all his drinking. But they're saying, New York Post is saying, believed to be, he died from natural causes. So we're being told that this guy was like an alcoholic to the point that he rotted his liver at age 37, but he just died naturally on the subway when he was unfortunately abused by a generic man who's not describable in any way.
Okay, so am I to believe that there's a man just sitting in the subway?
Yes.
He drops dead. I don't know where. He just drops dead.
Natural causes.
And there's this other man, presumably sitting next to him. And like his immediate thought is, wow, that looks hot.
No, that's not how it went. First, I'll tell you how it went. Because he did the robbing first. So here's how it went. Wallet's in the back pocket. He thought, oh, wow. I'm going to snatch that wallet because why not? And in the process of grabbing the wallet, he had a feel, and it must have been a good feel, and he just couldn't resist. I think that's how it happened. He didn't go in. He couldn't resist once he was involved.
Yeah, it was an accident. I get it now.
He did go in. He just didn't go in with that intent. Yeah. All right. We used to have such wholesome biblical discussion.
Oh, how the tables have turned. But I have to say, like, this is so bizarre. Okay, I don't want to, I know the show is going to get edgy, so I shouldn't be the one starting it, but, like, a person like this, like, they just need to get the death penalty. Like, okay, a dude, he saw a man drop dead, and his thought was, I want to rape him. Like, this man cannot be released back into society. Like, there is no scenario in which this man can be released back into society.
Yeah, do we need this is one of those where like the crime is so absurd that nobody even really thinks about it until it happens. I'm sure in New York, is New York even a death penalty state? Even if it is, I'm sure this is not a death penalty eligible crime. But it's like it's like in the law, you just need some mechanism for like that's so messed up that you are now death penalty eligible, even though if you wouldn't be by the letter of the law. I don't know how you evaluate that, but I get what you're saying. You can't catch everything.
You just tell the crowd. You tell the crowd. You go, this is what this man did. He raped a man in the subway. I'm sorry, a dead body in the subway.
Yeah.
Does anyone want to be his neighbor? And if no one raises their hand, that's it. You just do it right there.
take care of the problem. But that woman wanted to be his neighbor. He was just a church-going family man, had no problem as his neighbor. So she'll probably volunteer. And good news for him, she's 77 years old, so that body will be dead very soon too, and he can have it that one also. But moving on to something more serious and more consequential, I suppose, at least for the rest of us. So the economic yo-yo just keeps going. You know, it seems like every week we get more news that trade deals are being negotiated, and then that's denied, and then there are good signs and bad signs, and the market is just bouncing all over. So I want to go through a little bit of that before we hop into the great playground N-word incident momentarily. But on Friday, April's jobs report was released by the Labor Department. The economy added 177,000 jobs above expectations of 133,000. Unemployment remained at 4.2%. And that is the better than expected numbers defy a lot of the uncertainty about tariffs. And the other thing to consider contextually here is that there have been a lot of federal jobs cut due to the Doge stuff. So and some of those are lagging, like people got let go in February and they're not counted in the data until April. But the longer this goes on and the more removed we get from some of the deepest cuts of Doge, the more the jobs numbers start to look even better. Because if you're slashing a bunch of federal workers and not just maintaining, but actually gaining jobs beyond expectation, okay, that's pretty good. That's a good sign. Then you get the bad sign, and that is that we had actual economic contraction in the first quarter of 2025 here. So GDP, of course, it generally speaking, is the measure of the value of all the stuff that we make and all the services we provide. But it's the size of our economy. That shrunk. Didn't grow, it shrunk. And that's the first time since the great Biden non-recession of 2022 when they redefined the word to mean something other than how we've traditionally understood it. So it wasn't a recession at all. Now, in fairness to Trump, we're at one quarter now. If he had another quarter of GDP decline, economic shrinkage, you would consider that to be a recession, consecutive quarters of economic contraction. But the Commerce Department is saying GDP fell by 0.3% adjusted seasonally and for inflation. The main driver of that contraction is tariffs, at least according to the Wall Street Journal. The biggest factor is that net exports, as in the difference between what we import and export, that dropped 5%. And that is the biggest quarterly drag on net exports on record dating back to 1947. So what happened here is not just that there was disruption in imports and exports, it's that a lot of businesses were stockpiling stuff. So you get a lot of stuff from China, say. You get a lot of stuff from another affected country. In the spring or winter into the spring, a lot of businesses were just bringing stuff in as much as they could to get out ahead of this, and that's going to mess with the proportionality of your imports and exports. Your exports are going to look like comparatively less when you are importing so much stuff to get ahead of tariffs. So that's what's going on economically here. But then we have talk of a potential trade deal with China, or at least like starting the talks to resolve this situation with China. And likewise, this depends on who you believe. It's like Trump saying, yaha, and China saying, nah-ah. And they're passing notes to each other. Do you like me? Yes or no? And it depends on who you ask. That's sort of the story that we're getting. But early in the week, Trump said that his people were talking with China about a trade deal. And China denied it. And then this went back and forth. You got Trump people saying, oh, yeah, we're talking to China. Chinese officials saying, no, we're not discussing it all. Now, as it stands, U.S. tariffs against China are 145%. China has responded with 125% tariffs on U.S. goods and other countermeasures that China has implemented as well. My sources say Trump is considering infinity tariffs +1 against China, and China is considering infinity squared is where we stand. So this could get rough really quickly. But there are some indicators that maybe both sides are softening. On Tuesday, Trump said tariffs on China could come down substantially. He says 145% is very high. It won't remain anywhere near that high long term. China is still denying that they're talking to the U.S. at all, but they say they're open to talks while urging the U.S. to roll back tariffs. But perhaps China is softening a little bit. because on Friday, a statement from China's Commerce Ministry, so this isn't someone else's characterization of what China is doing. This is China saying it themselves. They say they are evaluating an offer from Washington to hold talks on tariffs. Chinese state media the day prior said Washington has been seeking trade talks. Now, China says they're wary of any attempts to use these talks as a pretext to engage in coercion and extortion. They say their willingness to talk depends on preconditions. So what they want is the U.S. to roll back tariffs that have been applied as a gesture of good faith, and then they'll talk. China says the U.S. must demonstrate sincerity by canceling their unilateral tariff hikes. But China right now is suffering the same economic challenges that we are, probably worse. On Wednesday, China reported that factory activity contracted in April. So likewise, their economy is shrinking some. And they're saying that's at the fastest pace in 16 months. And that's information from China. And China has a pretty strong propaganda record of mischaracterizing things. So if China's saying we're not doing that well, they're probably all like, dead in a fire by now or something like that. Many Chinese factories are now sitting idle, this according to reporting in CNN. So I'm choosing to remain optimistic as that maybe these talks are close and that maybe the last few months of chaos are on the way out. Maybe there'll be something more long-term, stable coming soon. Obviously, I'm not expecting like, a trade deal is negotiated and signed tomorrow. But it's like even if both sides agree to talking, that is a stabilizing effect. And I hope that this is as advertised by many that we're urging, non-panic in the last few months. This has all been a leverage exercise to try to get a better bargaining position for the American producer and the American consumer, better results for both of them. So anyway, you have any thoughts on the economic situation before we get to the playground incident?
Yeah, I think, honestly, I like the tariffs. I like what Trump is doing, to just kind of put my cards on the table. But what worries me about this competition with China is that it's inherently asymmetrical. In the US, our political leaders are in fact accountable to the people. And so if the tariffs hurt, at least in the short term, then the people who are hurting financially can elect a new leader, in a set number of years. But in China doesn't have that pressure. China could destroy its economy and cause millions to starve, and they don't have to do anything. Those people have no voice. And so their leaders can stand firm in ways that leaders of a democratic country simply cannot. And frankly, I thought that China was going to do that. They were just going to stand firm, and if it hurt their people, they were not going to bend. Because this could set a dangerous precedent for them. So I am really glad to see that they are responding to the economic pressure that Trump is putting on them, because I think that we need to deal with China and their economic threat.
Well, we shall see. We'll see what we get out of this week. It seems like things are heading in a positive direction. Both sides are saying things that are on the trajectory of some sort of seeking of an agreement or some sort of resolution rather than like giving each other the finger. But hey, speaking of the finger, that's kind of how I encountered this story. I don't know how you first saw it. I don't know how much you followed it, but I get a lot of my news on X, and sometimes that news is delivered first through meme. And this was one such case where in recent weeks, there's this new Studio Ghibli style AI art, and I've never been into like anime and all that, but I know the art style and I get that people think it's cool. So I just see this image circulating of this woman at a playground with a toddler giving the camera person the finger, and I have no idea what that means. But that is how the story broke to me, and it only got better from there. But
I saw the same meme and I immediately thought of the Waffle House girl, and I was like, this is going to be good.
You mean Jasmine Crockett or who?
No. Remember when that girl at the Waffle House got in the chair fight with the black lady?
You're going to have to be more specific because there's about 50 of those people.
But she became really famous because she like caught this chair mid-air.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's right, yeah.
And memes were made of her.
Yeah.
And I immediately was like, this has the same vibe. But sorry, go on.
Totally. Yeah. I forgot. Yeah. She, God, what was her name? I remember it was maybe 2 years ago. I remember covering that story though. That was a good one. Anyway, general understanding of the story is this, and I'll get into specifics as we go because there's a lot of depth here. There's at a park in Rochester, Minnesota. Okay, there's a Somali guy. At least I think he's Somali or something very similar. He grabs his phone. He starts recording a white woman walking away with her child, asking if she called that other kid the N-word. Now, she implicitly confirms that she did because she says F-U-N to him when he dares her to say, you don't have the balls to say it to me. And then she does. And he promises to post the video and get the internet to punish her. He does. She gets doxxed. And then a GiveSendGo campaign raises, as of this afternoon, well over $600,000 for her and counting. In other words, yes, we have all been working like suckers for decades to try to pay off, our little piece of the world. But we could have just said it like this mom did and cashed in.
Bingo.
Even though it's more complicated than that. It's not as though any of us can just make a video of saying it on the internet and expect GoFundMe contributions in this volume. But it is funny to think about all the work we've all put in to try to afford a home or something like that. This lady just has an incident at the park, and obviously what she's facing is not all upside. She's facing a lot of negativity. She's facing a lot of attacks too. So I just think it's a funny observation. Anyway, this episode is something of a reverse OJ or an anti-Mello, as in anti-Carmelo Anthony, the kid accused of murdering Austin Metcalf a few weeks ago, who himself has cashed in on GoFundMe. The supposed crimes are not the same, obviously, like calling someone the N-word and stabbing someone in the heart, not the same thing. We'll get into that. But I do think it's fair to say that after so many episodes of black racial solidarity to defend things like straight up murder, see OJ or see Carmelo, or just, degenerate crime in general, like George Floyd, there's a white fatigue, as people call it. And now there's some white racial solidarity forming around this case. That's part of it too. But let's get into the specifics of what exactly happened here. How it's currently known to have happened is this. On March 28th, or April 28th, I'm sorry. That's Monday. This mom, Shiloh Hendrix, she's at the park with her toddler, 18-month-old. She's confronted by this Somali guy who's recording her, accusing her of calling her calling another kid the N-word. Now, she implicitly confirms that she did. She's saying the kid stole from my diaper bag. And then after some back and forth with the Somali guy, she calls him the N-word as well. The Somali guy, I don't know how to say his name. He has a history, which we'll get into as well. This report, I think, calls him Sharmake or something, but to me, it looks like it's spelled Sharmake. Okay, Omar. I'm calling him Omar because his last name is Omar. Is he related to Ilhan? I haven't checked on that either.
Another brother.
Yeah.
Same thing.
That's how he got here. But yeah, he posts the video on his TikTok account, Dahab Somali.
You sound like a groomer terrorist that need to be deported.
He probably does. I'll explain in a little bit. Now, here's the original video, which, I've had to censor for language.
You call him a nigger, the child?
The fuck you talking
Did you
about?
call the child the nigger word?
None of your fucking business.
It is my own business. You call him a nigger? Okay, why don't you have the boss to say it right now again?
Fuck you, nigger.
Okay.
Nigger.
All right, that's what you say.
You'll go digging through people's shit, you dumb fuck.
Nobody dig into your shit.
A little fucking kid just did, you dumbass.
That little kid, you call him a nigger?
Yeah.
The little child?
What if he acts like one, he's gonna...
Are you about to hit him? You chase him here?
He took my son's stuff.
So that gives you the right to call the child, 5-year-old, a nigger, the N-word.
If that's what he's gonna act
That's
like.
what you're gonna call him.
That's what he's gonna act like.
That's a hate speech. And you can be recorded for that.
I don't give a shit.
Huh.
Fuck off.
Okay, we'll see about that, what the internet has to say about you.
Okay. So we'll see what the internet has to say about you. And when we get into this, Robert, that's really the point I want to emphasize. It's like, everybody gets hung up on the language, treatment of a kid. I get it. But what is the motivating factor for the guy who's putting this out there? We'll see what the internet has to say about you. We're going to get you. And he made good on that, not just by posting that, but there's a second video that he posted as well. He follows her to her car after that exchange. He posts video of her car, which of course has her license plate on it. And presumably that was some of the information that allowed her to be identified. But here's him following her around as she leaves the park.
Seeing is believing. I have never seen anybody be racist to a child on the spectrum of autism. Today, this is her.
Okay. Now, in addition to those clips, I have obtained some exclusive audio of Shiloh right before the viral video was recorded. We now have confirmation of exactly what she said to that 5-year-old.
Get out of my face, you fucking nigga!
Oh, wait, that was the Indian woman in California a few weeks ago.
Get out of my face, you fucking nigga!
It seems like that energy is very popular right now. Okay. Maybe Shiloh should just carry this soundboard around wherever she goes.
Get out of my face, you fucking nigga!
It'd be very convenient. So,
I know you're just getting started with the story, but my blood is already boiling.
Go ahead. Trust me. How deep have you gone into this story? Do you know about the history of this guy?
I know very little. I just kind of heard a little bit, so I don't want to interrupt you too much, but just this idea of we'll see what the internet has to say. That alone, no matter what was said, just that threat of, I'm gonna shame you publicly.
Yeah, I'm gonna get you.
And that's my threat. But sorry, go on. This is outrageous.
Well, so far, Shiloh, the mom, is not telling much of her side of the story other than what she has said through her GiveSendGo, which I'll get to in a moment. But we have this guy, Mr. Omar. Mr. Omar is talking to media, and he gave an interview. I think he's done a few, but he gave one to local NBC KTTC, and he says he is baffled that Shiloh is being rewarded and not punished, to your point, like he wanted.
If he was my child, I would want somebody else to stand up for him.
On the evening of April 28th, Sharmake Omar says he started recording a now viral video of a woman shouting racial slurs at a 5-year-old special needs boy.
I thought she was going to deny it and walk away. When there was a video and she saw that I was recording, she doubled down and even tripled down now.
With a child of his own on the spectrum, Omar says he felt he was doing what he thought was right.
If nobody else is going to do it, I'm going to have to do it. I don't know what to say. It's mind-boggling. I thought she was going to get punished for this, but apparently not. She's getting rewarded.
To the 15,000 supporters who have donated to Hendrix's fundraiser, Omar says this.
Living with hate, it's very stressful. And it shortens your life. So being happy and welcoming is the better way. Change yourselves.
You know what shortens your life, Omar? Living in Mogadishu. So I don't want to hear your lectures when you come to my country and tell me about how to live a long, prosperous life here. You know why you came here? Because there's a prosperous life here. Why don't you try learning from Americans before you lecture the rest of us? And that's what pissed me off too. It's not just threatening this lady. Anybody who donates to her to counter the threat, all of a sudden he's got a lecture for you about accepting. As we'll get to in a minute, he demonstrates the risk. Like, you would think this guy's just an upstanding citizen coming here to work hard and build a life for himself. He has very likely done some stuff, Robert, and escaped the system. But I can't stand being lectured as an uninvolved person. Like, you better be welcoming and opening, not just for the sake of it, but because I'm going to have a heart attack and die from all my hate if I don't? Please.
Yeah, this idea that he was really trying to really protect somebody. Because, okay, let's face it, like if this lady called a 5-year-old, frankly, anything, like if you're calling a 5-year-old anything out in the park, you're probably in the wrong. Like, you probably need to address the parent and be like, hey, your child is doing something or whatever. But so even if I grant that, his plan is to post this lady's face on the internet so that the mob can come after her.
Yes.
Because this is somehow righteous. Like, look, if you witness somebody doing something that at least you consider to be wrong or dangerous, then just have the balls to confront them yourself. Just like go up to that adult and be like, hey, don't, abuse that child or whatever.
Yeah. As a parent, I've never had an encounter quite like this. Okay. I mean, I've not said it before.
Get out of my face, you fucking nigga!
I've been more tactful in my interactions at the playground. But I do save my full thoughts on this for a little bit because I want to talk about some other stuff before I get there. But I have had that sort of difficult encounter, say with someone else's kid who's misbehaving, or maybe there's even a parent doing something that you don't appreciate or that is wrong. Yeah, you have a conversation with that parent, you resolve the matter. You don't threaten to expose them on the internet to make yourself seem like such a good person. That's not actually seeking resolution. It's weaponization, it's an attack. She can be in the wrong. Like, there is such a thing as a completely unjustified response to an unjust act. It's like I know you feel passionately about the death penalty, but you might say it's misapplied to like somebody stealing a Snickers bar from the gas station or something like that. And I'm not saying he did something quite like that, but it does seem like the punishment doesn't really fit the crime when it's a word crime. Okay, let's ruin your life type stuff. But as far as Shiloh's side, we don't have anything, as far as I've seen, beyond what she's posted on her GiveSendGo. And she last posted an update on Friday, thanking everyone for their support. She says her family's okay, nobody's been harmed, she is facing threats. In creating the campaign, her account of what happened is this. She says the black kid stole from her diaper bag that she has for her 18-month-old son who was at the park with her. She says she called the kid out for what he was. So again, implicitly confirming the accusation that she called him the N-word. She says this Somali guy then posted his video. She was doxxed. Her address, phone number, social security number have all been published, distributed. She says she may not be able to send her kid to school anymore. Places around town that she frequents, they're being targeted. So she thinks she'll have to move, hence the need for the campaign. Now, this is the other relevant piece of the story, Robert. This is what I'm talking about. Like, you're going to lecture me about being welcoming and opening because I might die of a hate heart attack if I don't. Sexual assault case against Rochester men dismissed. Hey, who's that? On the right there, it's Mr. Omar. Now, if you read the GiveSendGo from Shiloh, she says another man who we recently found out has a history with law enforcement. A history with law enforcement. That's uncharacteristically a very polite way to put it. Was he a police officer? What is his history with law? No, he had a law enforcement encounter because he was accused of, how would the New York Times put it? He
abused some people.
He abused a person of fewer years. I don't know, a young person, you might say. Okay. So in 2023, Sharmake Omar and another man, Muhammad Hussein Omer, they were charged with 3rd and 5th degree criminal sexual misconduct, accused of raping a 16-year-old after offering her a place to stay. So yes.
You sound like a groomer terrorist that need to be deported.
The accusations of non-consensual penetration of a person under 18 date back to January 2022. So this was allegedly ongoing. Court documents say the 16-year-old fled her foster care assignment in another town and was then sexually assaulted by multiple men, including Omar. Now, these are accusations. Case was dismissed. He was not convicted. So I have to qualify it that way. Why did the case go away? Because I assume, much like the sister prosecutor in Hennepin County in Minneapolis, who's decided, it's fine to go around vandalizing Teslas in a volume exceeding $20,000 in damage. I guess it's fine to lure a 16-year-old fleeing a foster care situation into your home and have at it. The county attorney, the prosecutor, dropped the charges in March, this past March, quote, in the interest of justice. So this is not a judge dismissing the case. This is the prosecutor deciding, come on. I mean, what was the 16-year-old wearing? What did she do? Something like that. You know more about the practice of the law than I do, so I don't know what to make of a dismissal of the complaint from the court that just says, hey, prosecutors are dropping this for the following reasons. In the interest of justice is what it says. And I don't know how common or uncommon that is, but there's no explanation on it. It's not like we found exonerating evidence. We were wrong in our initial assessment. It's just like, leave them alone. They're diverse Somali immigrants.
Yeah, I mean, it is so hard to tell why the prosecutor would drop the case. It could be that he realized the evidence was not as strong as he thought, so he was going to lose the case. That would be like the innocent interpretation of this. But I think at this point we would be foolish to think that these prosecutors don't have other reasons, like they're not taking into account race, immigration status, and so forth. So, I mean, I cannot know, and I don't want to be, just completely unfair to anyone, but it very well could be that this was politically, and by politically motivated, I mean, yeah, that it was because of the race of the perpetrator or the public image this would create for the community or whatever.
Maybe Omar said, if you don't dismiss these charges, I'm going to record a video of you being racist and put it on Reddit. And then, and either that, or you better be so tolerant that you live a long, healthy life. You're going to have a heart attack from all the hate in your heart. But Rochester police, they say they're looking into the matter, though they haven't said anything about investigation details. So it could just be a generic police statement. They haven't described like what charges would even apply. But yes, in the context of the story here in the reporting, they're not looking into say, why was someone who should be on the sex offender registry at the park? No, we're looking into like, did the woman say the N-word? Is the implied investigatory interest in this story here in local media.
Hope his kids were with him. If he was at the kids' park all by himself without his kids, straight to jail.
You did pick up on the key detail. He does say, oh, I myself have a special needs child. And I wonder, special needs or just Somali? Because it's very hard to tell sometimes. Sorry. I'm sure he is likewise autistic. Anyway. So he does have a kid. So to your point, he has a valid reason to be at the park if his child was there, as suspicious as his presence may be. But I have a lot of questions of fact about this. And that's number one. Like, okay, why is he there? I'm not saying he for sure was there for the wrong reasons, but there is a fact pattern in the past that without additional information, we have to question why was he there. Tell us why he was there. We need to resolve that. Number two, this kid that Shiloh says stole from her, and that's a 5-year-old autistic boy. He is not 5. I know that some kids are larger. My son will be 5 next year. He is not going to be anywhere near the height. This kid, I guarantee, is closer to 10. Maybe even more so. And that doesn't mean that you can like be mean to a kid. It's funny how these things just become part of the story. Like a guy says, that's a 5-year-old autistic boy. He has no idea. He doesn't know how old that kid is. And all of a sudden, just because it's in the video, everyone grants that is true. That is not a 5-year-old. 100% guaranteed.
And what about the so-called fact that he's autistic? Like, are we just to trust this guy's medical diagnosis, or is there anything for us to really believe that that's the case?
You know who could verify his potential developmental challenges? His parents. Where the hell are they? Because
that's kind of what I'm wondering.
You would think that if you had a special needs child and someone was rude to that child at the park, you as the parent might intervene. Now, allow me to present a counter theory of how this developed. He's not special needs. He's just a little punk. And the reason he's a little punk is because he's unsupervised. He has no parental figure. He goes to the park. He engages in punk-like behavior. And this woman perhaps has encountered it before or something similar. And maybe she did get a little rude in her response. Maybe she overreacted. But here's the thing. No parent, okay, not even someone who's like out of the Klan meeting, goes straight to the park and says, what? A minority child?
Get out of my face, you fucking nigga!
Nobody does that. So I think what happened here, this kid, to the extent that it seems credible that he was rummaging through her bag. When I say I've had encounters at playgrounds or with other people's kids, it's been situations like this where someone else's kid is poorly behaved and wants to do this kind of taunting thing to you. Like, hey, you ask the kid, like, hey, don't do that. It's a delicate situation because it's not your child. But this kid doesn't have a parent around or doesn't have someone to discipline him. And he knows that. So he kind of taunts you. Like, haha, you're not my dad. Haha, you can't stop me. I'm not saying I know this happened. It's pure speculation, but I definitely envision a situation where this kid is rummaging through the bag or otherwise engaging in bad behavior because he's unsupervised. The woman says like, what are you doing? Get out of my stuff. What are you going to do about it, white bitch? Or something like that. Okay. Again, I'm making a guess. I want to emphasize that. I'm not accusing this kid of that. I don't have evidence to say that that happened. I am saying there's got to be a context that would cause this woman to go from 0 to N-word. And we're missing that part of the story. And I find the theory that, like, is he autistic? If he's autistic, his lack of supervision is even less defensible. So something doesn't make sense here.
Honestly, what you just said, it explains so much. I mean, that's a story that I could believe, because when I heard this, I mean, I didn't look into it in depth or anything, but the story of there's a 5-year-old kid who's autistic, and then this woman calls him a bad word. And then the immediate question is, okay, so what did the kid's mom do? Right? Yeah. Like that's where everyone's brain would go.
No,
yeah,
it said this uninvolved Somali man is the hero to save him.
Yeah. And so, yeah, this kid, I mean, he looks older than 5. He's probably there by himself. And so, yeah, the mom, the white mom, I mean, has no parent to gripe at, to be like, hey, get your kid under control, which might or might not justify what she did, but that is a situation that is, at least that makes sense. The way this has been presented, it's like, I just kept thinking there has to be more to the story that I just haven't come across.
Now, for the people that think Shiloh, the mom, overreacted, even if there's a better understanding, there's no excuse for saying that word to a child. I do want to give that position as much credibility as possible. You should be nice to other people's kids. Maybe Shiloh should have been warmer, should have been kinder. Maybe she could have been more encouraging. She could, per Notorious on X, she could have handled the situation just like Miss Rachel did.
What does a monkey say? Ooh, 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 ah, ah, ah. Ooh, 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 ah, ah. Good job acting like a monkey.
Okay. That is my Twitter joke of the week from this account. And I thank Miss Rachel for her contribution to my soundboard. Maybe it's just that as a parent, I've seen too many Blippies and Miss Rachel and all of this. But if she had just been much kinder to the boy like that, I think it all could have been resolved much better. Okay, let me back up and be serious for a second. Yes, there is pushback against the behavior of the mom. Yes, I think some of that is justified. Why would anyone say that word to a kid? Yeah, as an adult, we should try to be kind to kids. I do think there's probably some explanation that helps us understand why the mom got to that level. But it's still okay. Even in the context of children, it's a word. This is a sticks and stones type situation. I guarantee there's more that makes the use of that word more understandable. But yeah, so I want to emphasize that when we think about this with respect to, say, the comparison to the Carmelo Anthony thing, because there's been, well, let me back up a little bit. I want to talk about the Carmelo Anthony stuff, but I also want to talk about why this is being supported in the way that it is, because people look at this and they think, who sends a mom money because she said the N-word, because she was racist, particularly to a child? When people are saying she got paid to be racist, I'm not going to say there's zero to that. Like, there is a racial component to this, obviously, but you're missing the context of being threatened by this guy who's saying, I'm going to ruin your life. The Omar guy is in the media saying, I want to get her punished. The mob is going after her, doxing her, trying to destroy her life. The massive response, people supporting this GiveSendGo, is not about the word. It's not about racism per se. The massive response is about the principle that we don't allow mobs to ruin people's lives over words, even that word. So if she said the meanest word of them all, like you said, if you're a parent at the party, you're like, wow, that lady sucks. She's really mean. I think we should avoid her. Maybe I'll talk to her and say, please stay away from my child. I don't appreciate the way you interacted with my child. The proper response is not trying to ruin other people's lives over words. That's why you're seeing this massive response. Another reason you're seeing the massive response, a word is not murder. Okay? There's been a fair amount of pearl clutching on the right, I think. People condemning this mom as racist and white trash without even hearing her side of the story. Again, it's behavior I don't think most of us would engage in, but we're just going to throw her under the bus and say, she's the worst. We have to rally against her. And there's kind of this false equivalence with Carmelo Anthony. Oh, Carmelo Anthony raised a bunch of money after stabbing someone in the heart. We shouldn't do that. We shouldn't respond our own way and support this woman. Number one, she's not being supported on racial solidarity alone. I think there's some of that, but she's being supported on the principle that we don't ruin lives over words. And the major racial component of this is no race. There is no racial ownership over a word. Like you can say that word as much as you want, but if a white lady says it, it's over. We're ruining her. Even if it is about racial solidarity to some extent, the absolute love of the slur, racism, all that, isn't that still a lot different than organizing around a murder? Or what is very likely a murder? Why are words and opinions carrying the same moral weight or viewed on the same moral plane as killing a guy? But I invite your thoughts about any of that. And actually, I'm going to have to message my guest because I think we're going to be a little bit late in getting to him. I still have more to say.
Yeah. Number one, to preserve my job, I want to clarify that obviously when you say words are not as bad as murder, what you mean is saying the N-word is infinitely worse than murdering, right?
I thought you were going to say you wanted to disavow my pressing of the button. I won't do it again.
No, but no, I think people are reacting so strongly because whenever that guy turned on the camera and said, we're going to see what the internet has to say about this, he might as well have looked at this lady and said, kneel. That's what happened.
Yes, exactly.
He felt so socially powerful. I mean, think about it. This is an immigrant who's here on asylum, right? Who is accused of raping a 16-year-old, the kind of guy that normally should kind of keep his head down because, he's already not doing great. And even with all of that background, he feels so socially empowered that he's looking at this woman and saying, kneel. And up to this moment, just about every person who has been put in that situation has done it. They go, okay, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. And even when they say they're sorry, the crowd destroys them. And so finally some lady goes, you know what? You're also an N-word. And
she did it. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think this is why people are going wild. They're going, finally, no, when somebody looks at you and goes, kneel, it's okay for you to go, no. F all the way off.
There's a lot of truth to that too. It's like whether I agree with the behavior of a person, the tactics, their perspective, when you're willing to stick to your guns, even when your guns are wrong and you're not willing to bend the knee and bow, there's like an inherent respect to that. And I'm not saying I think this mom is mom of the year or something like that. I just think that like, hey, you're willing to protect your kid and you're willing to go the full distance of saying it at the risk of your entire livelihood, whatever. Isn't there a certain level of respectability to that? I am not advocating calling children the N-word. I'm just saying when someone presents you with a bow, kneel scenario like you're talking about, the other N-word, no, is an admirable thing. And maybe she should have just chosen that word. No. But yeah, I think you have an important point.
And I also want to say that I mean, I already said this. I don't think that we should be calling children that, or, of course, I think that we should be kind to other people and try to conduct ourselves in a way that is above reproach. But in the situation that she was put in, where this guy's pointing the camera at her and effectively asking her to just grovel, no, that has to end. This is enraging. That must end. And I think that's what people are so fired up.
Yeah. I want to, before I get to, we'll get to Super Chat, we'll get to my guest, but I want to highlight to the theme of the threats. And I think that's what people are really reacting to. It's like, no, you will not ruin someone's life over this. You could have taken a browse through the Carmelo Anthony fundraiser comments. I actually have a little bit on that as well. You can see the sort of threats that are there, racially based. Take a brief tour through the TikTok reactions of color, to see that in this case as well. This is about rejecting racial ownership of that word, rejecting threats over the use of that word. One woman says, yeah, Shiloh Hendrix needs to be locked up in prison.
Share. I'm trying to find the woman who called the little boy the N-word, the 5-year-old little boy, artistic boy. She needs to be found and locked up. So please tap in.
He was very artistic, Robert. Excellent paintings, great at drawings, good with crayons. Anyway, there's also a protest tomorrow, scheduled for tomorrow to try to get her locked up. Scheduled in Rochester, and the goal of the protest is to get Shiloh Hendrix locked up. I'm glad Black Lives Matter believes in police again, though. This is really a great turnaround for them. Another woman says she wishes she could violently rearrange Shiloh's face.
Ooh, the fucking way I would have rearranged that bitch's face if I was in front of her. I hope and pray that they find your location, bitch. And I hope they dog walk your stupid ass. And when you good and gone, I hope somebody finds your grave and piss on that shit. Yeah.
Well, I hope someone does a maximal restraint technique on her upper back in in response to maybe her using a counterfeit 20 at the store or something like that. I think that woman deleted her video on her TikTok page, or maybe, I don't know if they made her take it down or not. But yeah, you want to know why people are donating so much money to this campaign? It's because we're tired of being threatened with death and desecration after the fact by pathetic embarrassments who can't handle a word. I know, I'll defeat the stereotype of being violent and overly angry in reaction. I will promise to rearrange this woman's face. Someone I once saw a 30-second clip of, and that's my entire context for having violent rage against her.
This is wild. These people are acting like kings because their argument is, I mean, this is obviously not illegal to say a word. So what they are saying is, you have insulted my honor. You should be criminally punished. This is the attitude of kings. I
think the term is kangs.
But
yeah.
I mean, really, it's like they feel this is how above, and I mean, I'm just going to say it this way. I'm sorry if this is inflammatory, but this is how above they feel, or how above white people they feel. They think in this social, right now in this current social paradigm, they're so high up compared to white people that they can make that demand. You insulted my honor, may your life be destroyed.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Back in the day, we used to say, you have insulted my honor, I challenge you to a duel. But now we don't do that anymore. Bring back dueling. You know, I'm warmer to
yes, honestly, at least that black lady, that's the attitude that Somali guy should have had. Like, if you see something rude, you know what? Just go up to that person and be like, I'm going to kick your ass.
Maybe
that's much more respectable.
Maybe I am being too critical. Maybe she did say, you've insulted our collective honor. I challenge you to a duel by facial rearrangement. Maybe I was too hard on her. Maybe she's got it. But another piece of the story about mean words, GiveSendGo has now disabled comments on the Shiloh Hendrix campaign page and on the Carmelo Anthony page. But the Shiloh Hendrix campaign page became, I guess, too anti-mellow. Everyone is mad at GiveSendGo for supposedly censoring censoring people's comments on this ostensibly pro-white, anti-black page, but they allowed the pro-black, anti-white page to go on forever. And you've got the GiveSendGo co-founder, Jacob Wells, saying, well, you know, we're going to have to shut them both down because there's too much harassment and this and that. I think friend of the show, Sean Fitzgerald, Actual Justice Warrior, is probably right about his interpretation of this. I think what happened here is GiveSendGo probably did want to stand up for free speech and didn't want to censor even the worst of the Carmelo Anthony stuff. And then when they did the same for the Shiloh Hendrix one, the credit card companies and the other involved payment processors came and said, well, okay, we are fine with hating the whites. But the second that there are some rogue ends on that page, now we're out. And we're going to sever our arrangement with you if you don't shut it down. So I actually am now there's some things GiveSendGo could have done better here, but I actually do think GiveSendGo tried to stick with a free speech stance until someone forced their hand. Now, to criticize them, if that's what's going on with you, some credit card company said you can't do this, you should just say that. They didn't just say that. probably because they don't want to piss off the credit card companies they depend on, I assume is why. So it would have been nice to have more clarity on that, but I do think GiveSendGo was trying to do the right thing. I think there are other actors that are forcing them a little bit here, but that's just my read on it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's very likely. I don't know if they have an app, but the same happens with the app stores. That's why Gab, for example, has not been able to have an app for many years now, unless that has changed recently. I don't know. But to your point, they should have said so. Just come out and say we have to erase the comments or hide the comments or whatever, because we're under pressure. Because otherwise, this just fuels the fire. Now they're proving all the people, like all the comments that they are hiding or deleting are being proven right by their very behavior.
Yeah, I suppose so. Last thing before we depart from this topic, other friend of the show, Viva Fry, he posted a 10-minute video talking about a theory that he has that this was all like a hoax and a psyop, and that Shiloh and Omar were in on it together, so they both cash in and laugh. And the case is kind of interesting. It's worth listening to. I personally doubt this is a fake, but I thought it was interesting to hear his theory about it. My skepticism that is what happened here. You couldn't really plan this as a cash grab, or it'd be very difficult. Hey, I call you the N-word, and then we'll both get paid. It would make more sense the other way, like in a traditional hoax hate framework where you have someone fake call you the N-word and then you're the victim who cashes in. Maybe they planned it that, but if they planned it that way, why would Shiloh make a GiveSendGo to bring money to her? I don't know. It doesn't, the planning ahead doesn't line up to me. But maybe they had maybe they were so genius that they thought, okay, we do this as a fake, and either I, the Somali man, am the victim for being the N-word recipient, or you are the N-word hero that everyone will support. But either way, someone's getting paid, or both of us are getting paid, and then we share the revenue. I don't know. Do you think there's any hoaxery at play here?
No, honestly, I think the simplest explanation is often the correct one. And I think we just as people are pretty good at telling when somebody's acting. That video seemed extremely real. Like that would shock me if there's anything fake. You know?
Whenever you see like forced or fake racism, it doesn't come off in the way that she presented it. Yeah, it's like it's much more, I don't know, stereotypical, or just I don't know. I don't know how to describe it. It sounds fake, and she didn't sound fake. So
I agree. But if we want to try this, feel free to insult me for being a foreigner. I will start a GoFundMe tomorrow. Like,
Get out of my face, you fucking nigga!
We can try it. You've been victimized surely on this stream. Anyway, okay, I'm way behind. So I tell you what, Super Chatters, I'm going to make an executive decision. I'm going to postpone your Super Chats until my guest NeoUnrealist is out of here, just because I don't want to make him wait longer than I asked him to participate. Anyway, I really appreciate the Super Chats. I will be with them once Robert and I are back, and I apologize for the delay. But Robert, I'm going to go grab my guest NeoUnrealist. We're going to talk a little bit of deportation stuff, and I'll see you back here. I'll aim for about a half hour. Sound like a plan?
Perfect.
All right. Well, I will be right back.
Stand back and stand by.
Well, hello, sir. Sorry for making you wait so long.
No problem.
Let me, oh, you're awfully quiet. Let me see if I can get you bumped, or is your mic far away?
I had to switch mics because the original one wasn't working.
Okay.
This one always gave me problems.
Let me bump you up because, yeah, you're awfully quiet, but we'll work with it. Anyway, my guest tonight is fellow YouTuber NeoUnrealist. You can find him on YouTube and Rumble doing some of the deepest dives into the stories of the day. Both of those accounts are linked atop. The description is YouTube and Rumble accounts. Appreciate you being here. And you have all the latest updates from deportation land, my friend. So,
oh, yeah.
We have more from the Maryland father, of course, gone too soon to El Salvador, Kilmar Abrego Garcia. So what do we have from him? We have new audio and new video in addition to some other developments.
Yeah, I mean, just briefly, I think the original sin with the Maryland father actually came in the courts when they got to this judge. What's her name? Yeah, that's his gang sheet. But there was this Judge Thacker woman who wrote a decision regarding that gang sheet. That was like when the cops arrested him back in 2019. And she downplayed the evidence. The
evidence of his MS-13 gang membership?
Yeah, she basically, she wrote it up in her decision that all the evidence against him was that he was wearing a bull's hat, essentially, and he had tattoos.
But isn't that legit? I know people like to downplay that, but isn't the bull's hat thing a legit MS-13 thing they do?
It's consistent because, originally it started, believe it or not, as like a bunch of kids that liked heavy metal in LA. It's like a Satanist gang. Who obviously they started getting picked on by the LA gang, so it morphed into what it is today. So their original thing was they would make hand signs like the devil. So obviously the bulls having horns, that's their hat. And if that's all it was, if that's the only reason the cops arrested him, sure, she'd have a point.
Yeah.
But he's standing there with two validated members of MS-13 who, I don't know if you know about gang culture, you can't just hang out with MS-13 members.
And they do tend to hang out together, I'm told. Yeah, they're friendly.
You certainly can't hang out with them while you're holding on to $1,200 in cash.
You don't go do the old Lloyd Christmas from Dumb and Dumber. Hey guys, big gulps, huh? Well, see you later. You better get the hell out of there. But okay, so one of the things about Kilmar was, it's funny. Of course, there was no evidence he's in the gang until you look, and there's some evidence. There's no evidence he's a violent man. Clean criminal record. Nothing to talk about in his past as far as violence. Well, again, until you look more. And now we know that his wife has been alleging domestic violence against him for some time. But now this week we got what? Audio of her testimony in court pursuing a protective order?
Yes, I think I gave you a clip to like the longest version I've found of this. It's her explaining to the judge all the stuff he's done to her.
So I got that queued up. This is her explaining, and I think this is from 2020. Hey, he definitely beats me up quite often.
I came to fill out a protective order. I think it was in December, but I didn't show up to the court because his family washed my brain, telling me that his dad was sick and not to do it.
Right there, wash my brain. She's saying they brainwashed her.
After that, it was I would call.
What were you saying about the brainwashing?
She said they washed my brain. Essentially, it seems like she made two complaints. That escapes the details, and she filed this complaint against him. Then she got her brain washed, as she puts it, and then she filed a second one almost a year later. So this didn't stop.
Okay. So yeah, that's right. I forgot she had multiple of these restraining orders, or she was seeking them at multiple times. So here's the rest of what she said.
Washed my brain, telling me that his dad was sick and not to do it. I didn't do anything. But after that, it was I would call the police. I have a lot of police reports, and I kept trying to get to the door basement to try to open the door, and then he pushed me. So then when I was able to go outside to get a phone, I called 911 from a disconnected phone. They took a long time to get to the house. It was probably 20-30 minutes. So I saw a neighbor walking his dog, and I opened the door and I was like, help. And then when he heard me, like, he grabbed me from my hair and then he slapped me. And then the neighbor, like, he didn't know what to do. He didn't know what to react. I have pictures of the evidence, like all the bruises, because it's not, even on Wednesday, he hit me like around like 3 in the morning. He would just wake up and like hit me. And then last Saturday for my daughter's birthday party, before I went to my daughter's birthday party, he slapped me 3 times. And then last week I did call the police. My sister called the police because he hit me in front of my sister.
So no evidence other than the woman who would be believed in any other scenario. It sounds like.
Yeah, so here she is in her own words describing just a litany of abuse at his hands. And then we had the other news drop related to the case of the, I guess, domestic abuse, is that her first, I don't know if she was married to this guy or he's certainly the father of her 2 older kids.
Yeah, that's the other piece. Like Maryland has an asterisk. Father kind of has an asterisk insofar as of the 3 kids they put up to demonstrate his fatherhood, 2 of them are from other guys. Or another guy. Like one other guy.
This Edwin Trejo Ramos filed an emergency custody request. This emergency he cited was, now this is in 2018, I believe. And that's when she started dating Abrego Garcia. And he lists as the reason she is dating a gang member.
And he would know because he went to prison for being some kind of gang member.
Yes.
Did he not?
Well, I don't know if he's in prison for being in a gang. He's in prison for sexually assaulting a 13-year-old girl.
Oh, so he did the old Omar from the Rochester Park bit, except he didn't get away with it.
No, he is in prison in Maryland, currently serving. And this is why he obviously didn't win custody of the children or continue to press for custody. He's in jail. So no way he's going to win that.
Okay, so we got mom who apparently can't pick him, talking about getting beat up by him. That was overlooked. Again, people just had to dig at this for, if anybody in media who was denying the validity of the claims of violence against him would have spent 5 seconds digging into these court records, you would find this sort of thing that are now, these things are coming to light weeks later. But we also got this body cam footage from a traffic stop that Kilmar had in 2022 in Tennessee. So I've got that cut up, but you want to give a little bit of context or understanding to what happened with this traffic stop.
All right. So Tennessee Highway Patrol, they spot this, I guess it's a van, and it's driving erratically. It's driving also 10 miles over the speed limit. I believe the officer tells him you're doing 75 in a 65 zone, and he wasn't holding the lane, I think was the other detail. So they pull him over. The cop notices there's like 8 guys in the van with him. So yeah, I don't know how much of you want to play. It's obvious that this guy is playing some kind of game with the cop. Oh, my license is expired. Whose car is it? It's my boss. He goes through the whole thing. I mean, anybody looking at it, if you're watching an episode of Cops right away, if you have 2 brain cells, you're going to say this guy's a human smuggler.
I forgot about that show. Do they still make it, or is it banned now?
I think they just brought it back, but it's like it's on Fox, that paywall that Fox has now.
Oh, okay. It's like, their subscription stuff.
So it's back there. You have to pay for it.
Here's a little bit of the body cam footage that was obtained by Bill Malugin at Fox News, and Jesse Waters is explaining what we're watching here.
Tennessee Highway Patrol stopped Kilmar for speeding and noticed he had 8 other people in the car. All no luggage.
Hello, sir. How are you? Good, and you? All right. You got a bunch of people in here, don't you? It's one for shit. Yes. Go back to work. Gotcha. Where are you working at? Where? San Luis, Missouri. Missouri? Yes, sir.
Oh, gotcha. Stop it right there, Matt.
I'm from Maryland. Whose vehicle is it?
What do you got?
He just told him that he's going back to work, and he just told the cop that they're coming from St. Louis, Missouri. So during the
I thought they were. Did you say coming from or going to? I thought he meant going to St. Louis.
Well, I thought he said coming from, but regardless,
I guess, traveling with people.
He's saying that they're going back to Maryland from St. Louis, Missouri.
Yeah.
He's going to switch at another point, say Houston, and then he just keeps changing the story. Again, this is making the cop suspicious.
Yeah.
I just want to point that out.
Well, and to your point, the cops have a little discussion and say, yeah, we're looking at a trafficker for sure.
Whose car is it? He's to my boss. The boss. Yeah.
Oh, that's the other thing. He just identified his boss here as the owner of the vehicle. And we're going to see that this vehicle actually has already appeared in government records at the Department of Homeland Security.
Oh, I didn't know that. All right, let me. I'll play the rest of this and then tell me about that on the other side.
Now we stay in Maryland, but we live in Texas, in Houston, Texas.
After talking to Kilmar, the officers had no doubt he was trafficking.
You know what you got here, right? No. He's hauling these people for money. You got an ass hauler is what he's doing, but sometimes they commingle dope.
In the video, you can see one of the cops making a phone call. The body cam audio cuts out for 10 minutes. Sources told us that on that call was Joe Biden's FBI, which advised police not to detain Kilmar at the time. That source also tells us Highway Patrol called Biden's ICE, and they never showed up.
That was 4 days ago, 5 days ago.
So what were you saying about the car here?
Okay, so the car itself that he just identified belongs to his boss. The owner of that car, and I think I gave you one of the last documents on this I gave you.
I could grab it. I might have missed the link.
Well, the bottom line is the car belongs to a Jose Ramon. It's the last thing. It's like a court record. It's a sentencing report for Jose Ramon Hernandez.
Oh,
Reyes,
right here. I got it. Yeah.
Where you will see the boxes checked where he pled guilty to 8 USC 1324.
Oh God, yeah. Aiding
and abetting illegal transportation of an alien. Now, as you know, with when you plead to a charge, normally you've been charged with a bunch of other shit, and you plead to the best case. I mean, something so they get something on you, and they just drop the rest of them.
And just so I understand, you're telling me that we know that this car that Kilmar was driving was registered to this guy.
This specific car was registered with the basically Immigration Department of Homeland Security as the car that this guy used to this Hernandez Reyes. And I'll just the count 4 that he pled guilty to on or about December 4th, 2019 in Jackson County in the Southern Division of Southern District of Mississippi and elsewhere. The defendants, Jose Ramon Hernandez Reyes, a.k.a. Jose Ramon, these guys have 10,000 names.
Yeah.
Knowingly and in reckless disregard of the fact that an alien named, they just list them as EDO, had come to, entered, and remained in the United States in violation of law, did transport and move said alien within the United States by means of transportation, namely a motor vehicle, in furtherance of such violation of law. So this guy was already on the radar as a convicted, he pled guilty, human trafficker. The car was known to be used in that human traffic, and now he's identified that man as his boss.
And so Tennessee authorities did not arrest him because they had no jurisdiction to do it, or it's only federal jurisdiction,
Highway
or
Patrol
what?
is a state law enforcement agency. They have no jurisdiction with immigration. That's a federal issue.
And so the Biden feds just said, don't care, and they let him keep driving down to wherever he was going.
As you could possibly imagine, the Biden era ICE had no interest and FBI had no interest in pursuing illegal aliens or traffickers, apparently, that are already in the interior. Tennessee Highway Patrol had nothing to hold him on, so they just gave him a citation and said, go on your way.
Just a Maryland father hauling a bunch of stuffed animals to his kids across the country, assuredly. Okay, well, is there anything else I missed on the Kilmar updates? Otherwise, I want to get into the Colorado Springs raid last week that I haven't really looked at all, but there's a lot of wrinkles too.
Yeah, the thing is that with all the stuff in the news, you kind of miss what's going on in the background. And I don't know how this wasn't a bigger story, where this club in Colorado Springs, there was a little more detail given by the president's press secretary, Caroline Levitt. She said that they had received 171 911 calls on this location. And this is during the Biden administration, and they did nothing. And so I don't know if you want to play I think I gave you a couple
the they
of videos.
in that would be even like local emergency responders if you're calling 911. It's not just that like Biden immigration enforcement didn't do anything. You're telling me Colorado Springs authorities didn't care?
Yes. So you have this mayor, Colorado Springs, obviously city Democrat run.
I forgot about their mayor.
Yeah.
Yeah,
they don't
that's right.
care. You can call and say there's been shootings, drugs, prostitution, all kinds of cartel activity, gangs. Apparently they didn't care.
Well, isn't the mayor the guy who did that whole hoax hate bit? I guess he was elected relatively recently, so maybe he wasn't the mayor during a lot of this stuff. But the mayor, Colorado Springs just elected their first black mayor who had done this whole race hoax during the campaign of spray painting swastikas on his campaign signs. And two of the people who did it for him are now going to prison. But he has escaped scrutiny, according to some Daily Wire reporting from a few months ago, because the FBI didn't want the optics of charging the first black mayor of this town. But yeah, the mayor has had his own episodes there.
Look at the optics of this roundup.
Yeah.
If you could share the video, I don't.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So I've got these clips of like what the raid itself actually looked like at these clubs. Or at this club, you got agents like busting through the glass and going in, and then you have people just flooding out, like there was a mass shooting or a fire inside of it or something like that.
So we're told that this operation involved 300 federal agents.
Yeah.
Between ICE and CBP and the DEA. They had 200 people that they detained that night. I think it's a little over 100 illegal aliens were found in that location. So under the Trump administration, those people have all been arrested and they're going to be sent out. They've said that over the course of the investigation, they didn't just run in there that night. This place has been under surveillance for a while. And actually, the best thing, play the press briefing given by the.
Yeah, so this guy's a DEA agent, right? So this was like a combo sort of drug enforcement, immigration enforcement. But to his point, these things often operate together.
We estimate over 200 people were inside the nightclub when we came here tonight, and so that's why we needed such a large force. Over 100 went into ICE custody. A few people went on state arrest warrants. They had outstanding warrants, and we actually have a few other operations pending right now across the city. We're waiting to determine if there'll be other arrests from those. In our investigation, we have noticed TDA, MS-13, and I believe Hell's Angels in this club. These crimes go hand in hand, right? When we find drug trafficking and prostitution, unfortunately, we're finding a lot of illegal aliens. 200 people in this club, a lot of drug trafficking happened, weapons, prostitution. Over half the people inside were illegals.
Yeah. So he mentioned 3 gangs there, right? Aragua, MS-13, and the Hell's Angels have been observed in this place. The night they did this raid, they also arrested a known Sinaloa cartel member.
Okay.
That was added by Caroline Leavitt at the White House.
Well, and did you see this bit about an active duty soldier too?
They found 12 active duty soldiers.
Oh, 12. I thought it was
night.
1.
It was 12. And some of them were acting as paid armed security for the operation.
The story that I grabbed, this guy, he sold some cocaine to an undercover DEA agent, so they busted him for that. This is an active duty Army staff sergeant. But you're telling me 12 guys, and they were working for the... Do we know who owns the club or who's in charge of this?
Well, that's the thing. This is not... The club is a place that kind of rents itself out. So that's okay. It's already shady. So this is not like a permanent every night thing. It's like they operate it on the weekend. It's also used for other things. So this operation is so brazen that you go into the club and they'll give you a menu telling you what drugs are available, what prostitution you can get in there. And when they went and they raided this place, I mean, as you could imagine, as soon as they identified that there was a raid, everybody threw their drugs and guns on the floor.
But we didn't have any kind of you're telling me you got like active duty military personnel working security. You've got a bunch of gangbangers in there, people involved in the drug trade, all sorts of. But there were no shots fired. There wasn't any kind of violence or anything.
The force was so overwhelming. They had 300 federal agents outside.
I guess. But then again, how many they have at Waco? That one lasted a while.
And let me tell you, this wasn't a surprise. The 12 active duty military because Army CID, Criminal Investigative Division, was part of the raid.
Interesting.
So
Okay.
they knew going in there that there were going to be active duty military involved.
Wow.
So
But we don't know. We don't have more details on the connections there. Like, you know, obviously they're hired or something like that, but we don't know. Like, are these guys? I guess what I'm asking. Are there gang members in our military, like foreign gang members of TDA or MS-13 or whatever the Sinaloa or whatever it's called?
that would not be unprecedented, but they haven't specified in this case. All they've said is that some of the active duty military that night were patrons and some were armed security for the club.
Okay.
So that was the latest on that I'd heard. That was as of 2 or 3 days ago.
What about this Operation Tidal Wave stuff? We've got large numbers of arrests and deportations, and I gather this is, I mean, I guess what makes this notable is not just the volume, it's the fact that now local law enforcement is authorized to do some immigration enforcement, correct?
Well, before we talk about Operation Tidal Wave, here's what links the Colorado to that.
Oh.
If you I put a chart of the violent crime numbers in Colorado Springs.
Let me zoom in out a little bit.
This is why I think there's the difference in Florida, is that you could see that spike, how it starts like 2015, and it just skyrockets. And, you know, it doesn't take rocket science to figure out an influx of illegal alien criminal gangs operating so openly that they could operate this kind of club. It's no surprise that crime would double or triple.
These numbers are what, just FBI crime statistics, or what's the source on these?
This, I believe this was just the local Colorado Springs Police Department's numbers.
Yeah. I mean, usually they're the ones who are reporting to the FBI anyway. They're the ones doing the calculations. So,
I mean, you could see just the order of magnitude that this crime jumped in a decade. So, talking about Operation Tidal Wave, completely different in Florida. Florida, you have Governor DeSantis and a lot of the sheriffs there, very cooperative. Operation Tidal Wave is essentially a joint state and federal operation where last week they picked up 800 illegal alien criminals in the state of Florida because basically they're working with the feds. The feds are like, hey, you guys are the local law enforcement. You know who the problem people are. Let's go get them. And the local cops are, you know, they're happy to do their job as cops now. And the Fox News report is probably the best summary of that operation.
Yeah, this is an assistant of Kristi Noem describing the now federal local cooperation.
Nearly 800 illegal migrants were rounded up in just about 4 days, including a man convicted of homicide in Colombia, an MS-13 gang member from Guatemala, a Russian illegal who was actually wanted by Interpol, and a suspected Honduran gang member.
We have partnerships under 287G authorities that Secretary Noem signed, and this empowers state and local law enforcement to actually be able to use their enforcement authority to carry out immigration enforcement. And what that means is they can actually make arrests and clean up our streets, get these criminal aliens off of our streets.
You know, at first I was wondering, did Biden actually stop local jurisdictions from doing this kind of enforcement? And then I remember, oh yeah, the whole Texas battle. The DOJ under Merrick Garland sued to stop Texas National Guard, Texas police from people crossing the Rio Grande. Remember, there was the whole battle over the buoys. You have to remove those buoys. So.
You have the state saying we want to protect ourselves. No, you can't, says Biden.
Yeah. So okay. I mean, this stuff is it's frustrating to read about because you would think this would be status quo. Like, why haven't we been doing this for a long time? Why would the feds be tying the hands of local law enforcement to make arrests of not just illegal aliens, but illegal alien criminals? And then the feds can facilitate the removal proceedings for those people. But yeah, I mean, we went through 4 years where not just that, it wasn't just that there was an icy relationship, no pun intended, between local law enforcement and the feds. It's that the feds were actively trying to stop them from doing anything about this.
I mean, as you saw in the Kilmar Abrego Garcia example, they had him dead to rights, caught him red-handed with 8 illegal aliens in his car, in a car that they know has already been used for smuggling, and just let him go.
Yeah. Well, lastly, what's this story from Portland? I find this a shocking development. Portland police are cooperating with the DEA and other federal law enforcement to try to crack down on fentanyl in that city.
Well, just look at the picture there with the police dog. I mean, look at all the drugs they found. How could you let this go on in your city?
They have for a while. I mean, how many dead bodies do you have to walk over? How many OD'd bodies on a daily basis you're going to see? But I guess everyone has their limit.
I mean, I don't know if people realize the Sinaloa drug cartel, this is not the Boy Scouts. I mean, these guys are as bad as ISIS. I mean, I've seen videos of these people just cutting people's limbs off, hanging people, decapitating them.
Oh, I've seen it.
Major leagues.
As longtime listeners of this stream know, like when a listener of this show had me watch cartel videos from Mexico, I did, and it psychologically messed me up for the rest of the day. Like these people are the absolute most barbaric that I've ever seen, at least with video or photo evidence.
It's like you watch the movie Sicario, and that is probably undersells how bad those people are in northern Mexico. You don't want those people operating in your city. And they arrested 46 people in this Sinaloa cartel operation in Portland, of all places, in the Pacific Northwest. Sinaloa drug cartel, 46 guys, pounds and pounds of just all kinds of drugs. I mean, this is the DEA, I guess. There was no... I'd noticed no specific ICE angle in here, but they're talking about Honduran drug trafficking organizations. So you'd have to figure at least part of that 46 is going to be illegal aliens.
I know that Portland got a new mayor. I remember bidding farewell and giving a proper "I will remember you" send off to former Mayor Ted Wheeler at the end of the year. Do we know anything about this new Portland mayor? I haven't really followed closely. Is he something more of a sensible person, or is this happening? I assume if Portland police are cooperating with this op, it's got to have some blessing of the mayor, city council. But is this actually an indication of some changing attitudes about law enforcement in Portland?
Well, the difference here is if it had just been ICE trying to do a raid, I seriously doubt they would have cooperated.
Okay.
But because there's a DEA kind of lead in here, they really don't have a leg to stand on. What are they going to say? We're doing sanctuary for Sinaloa drug cartel operations?
Yes, they are. 100%. That's what I would expect.
I mean, that would be... I suspect that would be politically untenable even for the Democrat Party.
There's no such thing in Portland, man. They've never reached how insane would it have to be before Portland voted for anybody but a Democrat in every office that exists in that city? We've not reached it. We don't know how crazy. The threshold has not been realized.
Now I'm wondering, before we go, just as I was coming on when you were letting me onto your Zoom call here, President Trump posted on his Truth Social that he has ordered his Department of Justice to reopen Alcatraz as a maximum security. I guess he wants to send these people there.
I'm calling Trump on you, you illegal motherfucker.
Do we still get to tour? Can I go to Alcatraz and take the tour and see the...
That's the only question I have. Isn't that place like crumbling? How are they going to reopen it?
I've never actually been to Alcatraz. I spent time in the Bay Area. I have family in the Bay Area, but I've never been to Alcatraz. So I don't know how it operates on a day-to-day basis. I couldn't tell you.
I mean, the idea, I love it. I mean, the optics are amazing. I just logistically, I thought the place is like decrepit and crumbling like old concrete.
Well, that sounds perfect. What's the problem? It sounds like the ideal venue. The plan here is to make them beg to go see Kilmar down at the Salvadoran prison. You want to make them long for those conditions, so they self-deport.
I agree. They almost use CCOT almost as a deterrent because they're like, hey, we're going to send the worst of the worst there. And I think Trump likes that kind of optics of we're going to send you to these maximum security slammers, not these club-fed kind of prisons where, you have like soccer fields and no, we're going to send you to these depressing dystopian slammers,
Well, I appreciate your updates on all these stories. I've been kind of out of out of deportation watch for a couple of weeks. So thanks for catching me up. And anything else you want to say before you're out of here?
Not just that if it sounds like, they're not doing stuff, to deport people or mass deportation, they're doing it. It's just that they're being opposed on every front. Every illegal alien gets a court case and an appeal and an appeal, another appeal. The cases never end until the illegal alien wins.
That does sound like the pattern, but thank you for your help, man. I have it's NeoUnrealist, my guest, and I find his YouTube and Rumble channels linked in the description. Again, for some of the deepest dives you will find on the stories of the day. Is there anything else you'd like to promote before you're out of here?
No, I think you hit him.
All right. Well, thank you for stopping by. I appreciate it. All right, there he goes. That is our friend NeoUnrealist. Again, find his links atop the description. I got to go back and find Robert. We'll get to your super chats. Thank you for waiting so patiently.
Stand back and stand by.
All right, we are overdue for some super chats. Are you ready to hop into it?
I am, but can I say two things real quick?
Wait, hold on, I got to bump your mic down. Sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, cool. I actually Googled it. I was like, how is it that the one guy in the subway is being charged with rape?
Thank you. Working overtime. What do we got?
The thing is, I'm a lawyer in 2 states, and I've never heard of such a thing.
Okay.
And as it turns out, this is a very unusual New York thing. Now, I don't know if they're the only state this way, but in none of the states where I practice would this be rape. This would actually be abuse of a body.
Right.
That is the term. But in New York specifically, there's a provision that says sexual misconduct includes if he or she engages in sexual conduct with an animal or a dead human body.
So it is yes, covered.
It is rape in New York. And I also checked on the grand larceny, and yes, it is $1,000.
There you go. Well, thank you for your extra effort.
Definitely worth checking into.
Appreciate your contribution to the production value.
You're welcome.
Over on Rumble, Elbot has stopped by for his traditional appearance.
I am not going to be niggardly.
Thank you, Elbot. Appreciate it. Yakko, 1977. The media is rooting against Trump in the trade war, or quote-unquote trade war, between China and the U.S., but I've seen reports of protests and outright riots in China as factories are shut down. The CCP is not invincible. Yeah, I haven't... Whenever I see like videos of stuff out of China, I mean, after COVID especially, it's like, I don't care what, I don't believe any of that. But the fact that Chinese officials themselves are saying, yeah, I mean, production's kind of slowing down, that does tell me a lot. I think that indicates that there's probably some pretty serious suffering over there.
Yeah, and of course, I don't want to claim that the CCP is invincible, but there are some facts that I think speak very loudly. Like, for example, in the last, I don't want to lie, but let's say in the last decade or so, several billionaires in China have gone missing. That's the level of power the government has, that even billionaires are not safe from the CCP's power. And so, do I believe that the CCP is as responsible to the people as a democratically elected president? And to me, it seems obvious that that's not the case. And so they can hold out a little longer.
Absolute destitution will create that in the end, of course, but China's probably somewhere in between. They're not the most prosperous country in the world, but if people are able to live some quality of life above total starvation, then that's probably their sweet spot where they're able to wield their power. The billionaires, did they just were the billionaires politically active, or is it just the fact that they were billionaires? Why were they targeted?
I don't know all the details, so I'd hate to lie. But my understanding is that these billionaires did not toe the line, and so they just disappeared. And so that's the other thing. We can't really never know what exactly happened because they just went missing.
Thank you, Yakko. Dangerous Spaces, our friendly producer, says, our version of Democrats convincingly of Democrats convincingly won the federal election on Saturday. One of the first things said by the winner, I acknowledge the traditional owners. My country is so fucked. Yes. Throw a boomerang at the Aboriginals or whatever it is. Play a didgeridoo for the Aboriginal people. Is a boomerang Aboriginal? Did white Australians invent that? I can't remember.
No, it is. It is. In fact, I have one at home. I went to Australia once and bought one that was painted by an Aboriginal.
Wow. Did you watch it, or was it just you bought it from like an Aboriginal shop?
No, I was told, so I'm sure that really was painted in China. Like, who knows?
Well, the fake Aboriginal boomerang factory is shut down now, so they're really struggling over there. Laura Kendrick, is it ironic or ominous that she's named Shiloh, which is the name of a major battle in the Civil War? I do recognize the name from that context, and I actually really like the name Shiloh, as I consider potential names for future children. I should know more about the Battle of Shiloh in the Civil War. I can't remember the exact context in which it fits, like outcome, bloodiness. You know much about the Battle of Shiloh?
I really don't. But if we start with, if the story starts with this video and fundraiser and ends with the South will rise again, favorite timeline. This is great.
I think that was a common sentiment back in the 1860s, too.
Get out of my face, you fucking nigger!
I think. This is what the conflict was about at that point. Dangerous Spaces. Black people claim to be really, I'm just looking for excuses to press that button. When I found that button a few weeks ago with Joshy Boy, it's like, I'm just going to...
Get out of my face, you fucking nigger!
My thumb is going to be on it for the entire stream. All right. Dangerous Spaces says, black people claim to be oppressed, but they also threaten white people, these so-called oppressors, with violence and try to ruin their lives over a word because they know they can and often... Try to ruin their lives over a word because they know they can, and it often works. Yeah, I mean, there's always that hypocrisy and contradiction in the supposed power dynamic here. That is to say, if challenging a white person was so risky because of the hierarchical oppressive structure and the racism, you wouldn't dare do it. Not only you would hesitate to do it in, say, like a court of law, like to testify against a white person about matters of fact. You would not rush to the internet to intentionally to bring all this attention toward you because you actually would get disappeared, like you're talking about in China, if you had that sort of reality. But of course we don't. It's all made up.
Yeah, and that was the point I was trying to make. These people are actually so socially powerful that they can go online and make a threat of violence because this lady insulted their honor, and they know that nothing will happen to them.
Agreed, yeah. Thank you to our Rumble super chatters over on Odyssey. Blankets is always sending me the funniest memes, and I don't really put them up on the screen very often. And in this case, it's to protect your eyes. But it is Star Wars Day, and so he sent me an image of Han Solo and Chewie piloting the Millennium Falcon straight at Nancy Pelosi's beach tees from that beach in Italy a few years ago. You remember those? Her giant beachies. They're flying straight into him. I don't know why. I don't know why they're flying at Nancy Pelosi's giant beachies, but they are. Also, God, dude, screenshot from the Carmelo Anthony. No, this was the Shiloh fundraiser. Of course, people were doing it. You know, the meme of like someone starts the chain NIG. So people are donating thousands of dollars with letter sequences. Okay,
I did see that. That is quite funny. And also along the Star Wars meme in the beginning of the show, I didn't want to say this at the very start. It was going to ruin your flow. But I actually have kind of an embarrassing story about a lightsaber. I'll make it very brief. Yeah, cue the sound.
Go right ahead.
But I was going through airport security, and I was carrying a toy lightsaber, you know, the ones that just like expand or whatever, in my carry-on luggage, because it was for somebody's Halloween costume. I was taking it back to the house, whatever. And I always get nervous at airports because I'm foreign, you know, so I have like a lifetime of being oppressed.
Maybe that's an asset these days. Yeah, you can abuse bodies and get away with it, okay? You can do whatever you want.
Man, I was born like 20 years before I should have. Now I'd have all the privileges.
That always is the joke about Robert, man. For people who don't know Robert's background or didn't catch the show on Wednesday or whatever, Robert is the sort of sucker who immigrated to this country the legal way and spent thousands of dollars to do it. What an idiot. Everyone point and laugh at your computer screen. Ha ha, you fool. Should have just walked over the border and abused your body, abused bodies as a means to get into this country. Whatever.
Man, but I can't get that story out of my head. I really can't think who saw a dead man and thought, my chance. But at any rate.
Back to the lightsaber story. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so lightsaber. So I'm going through security. I always get nervous. And sure enough, they pull my bag from the scanner or whatever, the x-ray machine, because there's something suspicious in it. And I immediately start talking and I'm like, okay, yeah, you can open it and you're going to find a lightsaber in there, but don't worry, it's fake. And then I think, why did I say that as opposed to what? The real lightsabers that are out there?
Well, you have to declare a gun, so I assume you have to declare your lightsaber too.
Well, but the guy behind me, he hears all this and he peeks into my bag and he yells to the back of the line. He goes, "It's fine. It's green." He's one of the good guys.
All right. So that guy is, well played. I like that. All right. Over on YouTube, the Cisco. Shiloh Hendrix did nothing wrong. I stand with our based Aryan queen. Well, if you had to ask me, gun to your head, you have to pick a neighbor. You want Shiloh Hendrix or you want guy who, in the interest of justice had his child abuse charges dropped. Give me tatted up N-word saying mom. Whatever questions I have are secondary to, can I trust my teen daughter around him? I'd be more worried about that than say my son being called a mean name on a racial basis or something like that. Joshy Boy, long live the ever gracious galactic empire. Of course, Joshy Boy would be pro-empire. They maintained order. They actually treated their subjects very fairly. Darth Vader was misunderstood as a monarch, and really things would have been much better. I don't know. I mean, the more I think about it, was the Rebel Alliance, I mean, everybody loves them for their romanticized portrayal, but weren't they kind of like a bunch of diversity-loving commies and terrorists? Yeah. Joshy Boy, as always, I like the way you challenge me to think. He also says, technically the left would be the rebellion, seeing how they love aliens and hate structured governments. Yeah. The empire, on the other hand, hates aliens and is focused on humanity first. He is persuading me. This is why I named my son after the Anakin Skywalker actor, because Darth Vader was onto something. Anyway, Long Dong John. The Pajit, I think that's a Raju Mohan approved slur. I don't know. The Pajit a few weeks ago walked. So Trailer Park Blonde can run. Okay, so this is Shiloh. Right. The Indian from a few weeks ago, she blazed the trail. She made more money on GiveSendGo than Carmelo. This is the best story of the year. Well, and that's the thing, too. For all these people who want to make it's like a bunch of Klansmen supporting this because they just love to hate black people so much. We all had to watch fundraising for a guy who stabbed a kid in the heart purely on the basis of his race. That's why he was supported. And so if that's the case, you're going to get a backlash that's like, I don't give a shit. All right, team white people, I'm doing it. Of course you're going to get that. Either it's racial solidarity and racial tribalism for everybody or nobody. And it is really frustrating where certain demographics get to be as tribalistic as they want to be. And it's deemed a good thing. It's a moral good. But the second a white person's like, I don't know. I think I just kind of prefer to live next to another white guy. Get him. He's a Nazi. Everybody's tired of that. And I think this, I think people are eager to participate in this because they like the idea of demonstrating that's dead. Like you're guilt tripping, you trying to whip us into submission, you trying to get us to bend the knee as you put it. That's over. It's done. And if you try to do that to anybody, we're gonna do the we're gonna do the elephant bit where we circle the wagons and we protect them. Kamala Harris was talking about that. We have to protect the vulnerable. The elephants during the earthquake, they circled their vulnerable and they protected them. That's all we're doing here. We're protecting the vulnerable. But actually, that's what this mom was doing. Okay, you might disagree with the tactics or the tone or the word. I, however, would like our moms in society to be a little overprotective of their children when danger or sketchiness presents itself, especially moms. You know, my role as dad is like, all right, I know mom says this, that, and this is dangerous, and we're not going to do that. But with dad, things are a little different. We're going to get a little more reckless. We're going to take on a little more danger. Especially for mom to be like, nope, this is a messed up, dangerous situation. The hell with all of you. I'm protecting my kid. That's good for society. It's not even a racial thing. Protect your kids, you psycho. And if a mom says the N-word in protection of her child, so be it. Protection of the child is a valuable thing. And at bare minimum, we should appreciate that.
Absolutely. It's about time that the double standard ends. And I say this, by the way, again, as a foreigner, I kind of don't play into this game. It's very strange for me.
Well, I always wonder, do you count? Yeah, are you an honorary white or like, but you got the accent, you know?
I don't know. Like, I don't know if, you know, if I went to like the Klan meeting, would they kick me out or not?
Yes.
I'm not sure. But, you know, but this comes across even when I talk to Black people, like when I get in an Uber or whatever, they very much treat me like I am outside of the game. They immediately recognize it. It's like, I'm not with them, but I'm also not with the white man. I'm just like,
what does Robert do at the Alamo? Everyone wants to know. Like, which side do you take? Sorry,
man. No.
Are you saying that minority Uber drivers try to pitch racial solidarity to you, even if you?
No, neither. They try to explain to me essentially why they hate white people, and I can tell that they're explaining it to me like I'm a neutral observer.
Okay.
And I think I told you one time I had this long Uber ride, like it was like an hour long in Dallas. So the distance wasn't long, but with the traffic and all, it took forever. And this guy is telling me about whatever riots were happening during this was during the Summer of Love and all that stuff. And his point was these were Black neighborhoods, and that's the word he would use, they would burn these neighborhoods because they belong to Blacks, and they don't want Blacks to succeed, and they don't want Blacks to own anything. And so finally, 45 minutes into this conversation, I'm like, I just want to ask, like, who are they?
Yeah.
Because I was really, it's not like I didn't know what he was getting at, but I did want to ask, who are they? And he stopped, he looked at me, and he goes, white people. And it's like, okay, like, that's where we're at.
All right.
But it's just weird.
Well, I guess in the interest of consistency, he stuck to his guns, and I appreciate that. He didn't back down. Like Shiloh, he was confronted, and he didn't back down. Good for him. Long Dung John says, also, Matt, I hope you got my email about the Asian lady telling a Black dude to go back to Africa. I think I did see that, but I haven't responded to my emails today, so I will get back to it. It's amazing, and she makes the N-word sound so adorable. Someone's got to give me her number. I don't... Do I dare? Should I play this without reviewing the footage? There's probably a hard R in there. Well, give the people what they want to see. If Long Dung John is gonna let me pull this up. Hold on, I gotta unmute it.
Your country, black nigger. Go back to your country. Go back to your country, nigger.
Jeez. She sounds like remember this guy in the Hoax Hate from Minneapolis long ago?
Go back to where you come from, okay?
Yeah, she's got that vibe. But I don't know. Hey, if you're looking to find her, I hope you're successful, Long Dung John. Sounds like your country's gonna need it if they went the Canadian way. Anyway, I don't know the context for this, so I will note, though, now we have white lady, Indian lady, and I guess Chinese, some form of Asian lady. They're all coming together on the principle that unites them.
Get out of my face, you fucking nigga!
Yeah, it's a shift. It's
effectively
an
a feminist issue now.
Indeed. Okay, I'm going to pause our super chats there.
I'll have to just circle back with you.
I recognize I'm way behind on them tonight, so I appreciate your patience, everybody, because I appreciate your support for the show. I will be back with them at the end here, but I want to make sure we keep moving along with the news, and I just have a few more items. One last thing on immigration and deportation, Robert. Now, you referenced her earlier, or at least I thought you might have, the representative for Waffle House, Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett. And Jasmine Crockett is the sort of person who might prompt exactly that unifying statement that we've heard so much of tonight. A KTLA American, as Joshy Boy would describe her, a true KTLA American. But on the topic of deportations and illegal immigration, you can always count on someone like Jasmine Crockett to offer the most preposterous take possible. Since we're just sending people off to other countries with these deportations, under her reasoning, maybe we as Americans should consider, how would we feel if other countries just sent people here?
As far as I'm concerned, you randomly kidnapping folk and you throwing them out of the country against their civil rights, against their constitutional rights. And frankly, how would they feel if some other country decided that they were going to just start throwing people randomly in our country? Like that is absolutely insane. So yes, all I got to say is y'all need to get these fools out of here. But I'm gonna
be honest with you. I'm kind of retarded.
How would we feel if, say, Venezuela just sent people here randomly, or Colombia or Mexico? You know, we might have to do some deportations under such circumstances. That's how we might feel. Right.
Yeah, I guess we will never know. That's never happened to us.
This is one of those where it's like, all right, I know that this is the same lady who's saying black women are the most educated demographic. It's the same lady saying white supremacists commit 80% of the violence in this country. Like, she's said completely preposterous statements many times. This is one that I'm like, no, this has to be a bit. And you're very good at staying in character, but this has to be a bit. How would we feel if other countries randomly sent people here? That is the problem, you absolute buffoon. How could you possibly be serious? You can't. You cannot. It is impossible. But she is.
Man.
Get back to throwing chairs at Waffle House, all right? Get out of Congress.
But even if we take her scenario as charitably as possible, how would we feel if other countries were returning Americans to the United States?
Yes. Good.
Probably just fine.
Yeah, thank you.
Frankly,
they belong here. We appreciate that. Thank you for not holding them, in custody.
That's right. It's all right. We'll take that deal.
All right. Well, it is time for some hoax hate.
And now, the nobody saw it happen, but it's totally a product of Trump's America hoax hate crime of the week.
Ah, shit, it's backwards. You think they'll notice?
Well, is the greatest hoax hate saga ever told finally finished?
I am not suicidal!
Jussie Smollett's criminal story ended in November with the Illinois Supreme Court overturning his convictions on process grounds. And I talked about this at the time. It actually pains me to say that I think his appeal case was pretty good on double jeopardy. It goes back to Kim Foxx and the agreement that she made with him on non-prosecution. And then they brought in a special prosecutor who revoked that and prosecuted anyway. Now, Jussie Smollett is guilty, of course. But in terms of double jeopardy principles and the way that prosecution was handled, his victory on appeal kind of made sense, even though the whole thing is ridiculous. But that's how the criminal case ended. I actually didn't know until I saw this news break this week. There's some remaining civil strings to be tied up, and it sounds like they are now getting tied. Jussie Smollett and the city of Chicago announced a settlement of undisclosed value, but that is because the city sued Jussie in April 2019. saying of course, that he planned the attack and that he wasted a bunch of police time and resources. So on Monday, the city and Jussie told the court that they have reached this agreement and they're going to need some more time to finalize documentation. There will be another hearing at the end of the month, presumably to get all this squared away. That'll be May 29th. Lawyers for the city and lawyers for Jussie are not saying anything publicly. And I don't need to go through all the Jussie details because we've done that a million times. But every time I talk about Jussie, I just, in the context of other hoax hate, I remember in early 2019, like when they're talking about when this lawsuit was filed in April 2019, Jussie's getting sued for faking this. And I remember thinking, dang it, this is very bad for business. This is very bad for the bit. I need hoax hate every single week. It is my brand. And Jussie Smollett, because this has been so high profile, because everybody is laughing at the degree to which this man beclowned himself, nobody's going to be attempting hoax hate anymore. If anything, it's stronger. Jussie Smollett, the most amazing thing about his case to me is that it did little to nothing to deter the attempts and the effectiveness of hoax hate. Now, I'm disappointed that the hoaxers are practically emboldened when they should be deterred. But I think I'm even more disappointed in the lack of skepticism from so many Americans, that effectively the same Jussie Smollett story will get told in one form or another on pretty much a weekly basis. And you can read the comments and people still jump to the same conclusion that they did in January or February, whenever that was, 2019. Wow, I can't believe 2 red hat men with nooses confronted him with bleach during a polar vortex in Chicago. And they said, this is MAGA country, even though it's clearly not. People bought it then. Jussie Smollett and the saga that has unfolded since, in my personal estimation, this is just a anecdotal observation thing. It's not data, but I don't think American skepticism for hate crime claims has increased at all in response to the Jussie Smollett story.
No, but you know what I admire about this guy? I mean, don't get me wrong.
He stuck to it. He just like Shiloh.
Yes, he stuck to it. He did. I mean, to my knowledge, and correct me if I'm wrong, he has to this day claimed that he is innocent.
Yes, he has. He's never admitted guilt.
And don't get me wrong, lying is wrong. He should come clean. He should confess and all of that. But there's part of me that is like, wow, okay, like hats off to you.
He said take it to the grave and he meant it. But yeah. Anyway, but that might be kind of it for Jussie Smollett. We'll hear news of this settlement in formal terms probably at the end of the month, but his legal matters, as far as I'm aware, will be done. And then what? Like he's definitely not getting new career opportunities. The best thing he could do is the OJ style book, like If I Did It. I know that you admire his commitment, but I think business wise, the only way he gets relevance back is if he comes clean. But he's pretty deep into it now to do that.
Yeah, no, he has to become the Subway spokesman.
It really went badly with Jared, so they do need a new guy. I always wanted Subway to lean into it. Like, I can't remember what Jussie ordered, but he had the sandwich. I remember that was one of the original things about the story that was so unbelievable. Like, they beat your ass, but they just left the sandwich. If I kicked a guy's ass, I'm taking his sandwich because it's the ultimate insult. Give me that fucking sandwich. I'm going to eat it too. They left the sandwich. What was the sandwich? And if Subway had leaned into that, this is the Subway Jussie Smollett special. Careful with the Jussie Smollett footlong, I guess, given the context of his preferences. But you could probably make it something. I 100% would have gone in to try the Jussie Smollett sandwich, assuming it wasn't, quite as gay as I just described. If it was a normal sandwich, I would try it. Business opportunity, Jussie Smollett. You're onto something. This is why they should hire you for consultation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can represent them.
Or you could have before tonight's stream. All right. I mentioned there was another case. All right. Another instance. An LA transgender woman says several men are targeting him or her, but really him for violence. This is almost certainly another case of transgender sexual fraud, often referred to on this show as the so-called fraudulent blowy. The transgender guy seduces another man while he's presenting as a woman. A sexual act commences. The man realizes he has been serviced by another man, and so he commits acts of violence in retribution, sometimes fatally, though not in this case, so it could have been. Okay. As you can see on your screen, this one in LA, if it is what I think it is particularly bizarre because it involves an elderly transgender person. This 61-year-old guy is presenting as a woman.
That's disgusting.
He calls himself Sabrina de la Pena. One of your people. You might be able to understand his accent, actually. He runs a convenience store near MacArthur Park. And he says that in recent weeks, several men have been attacking him repeatedly. And he has given police surveillance footage of the attacks. We'll see some of that here. He says the attacks are clearly motivated by anti-transgender hate. The accent is thick, but listen to a few key mentions in the description of the story.
Police in Los Angeles searching for not one, but 3 suspects in an alleged hate crime and sexual assault.
And I asked, do you need something else? And I start walking around to be close to him. I said, can I help you? And he started floating to me. And I say, no, I am sorry. I'm not interested in anything like that.
Sabrina de la Pena, who is transgender, was closing up after working all day at the store she's owned for 27 years.
She and police say the suspect came back multiple times with other men, threatening to kill her while physically attacking her, pepper spraying her, and in one incident, throwing an unknown liquid at the victim while another suspect attempted to tase her. A struggle happening in the doorway before the suspect drags de la Pena onto the balcony and throws her to the ground, punching her repeatedly. De la Pena eventually picks up the skateboard they'd used to attack her as the 2 suspects retreat down the stairs.
He keep asking me many times, is I be sexually into with those guys? And I say many times, no.
The detective on the case asked you that?
Uh-huh.
NBC News reached out to the LAPD and asked them to respond to those specific allegations, but they have not yet responded to our requests.
I know he doesn't care about me because I'm transgender person.
She sounds hideous.
Now, Robert, were you able to understand a few of the statements that you think I might have picked up on there?
Oh yeah, it made me feel like I was right at home.
I told these guys and the cops so many times, no, this was not sexual at all. Nothing sexual here in any way. Just pure anti-trans hate. Definitely no sexual interest from me in any way. Why would at least one young man, maybe multiple, why would they have sexual interest in this 60-year-old transgender guy? What?
That is the $1 million question. How were they seduced by this man?
Yeah, well, I think they've got a big drug problem in LA, and there are other questions to be asked too. Don't get me wrong. I'm not letting these guys off the hook. Fair point. Why would they have sexual interest in a 60-year-old in general, but in particular, this 60-year-old transgender guy? What did this guy do? There seems to be kind of a gap between the points described in this story. So here's the description of the original event in the LA Times. On April 8th, the transgender guy, said, a man came in just as any other customer. He purchased water and began to flirt with the transgender guy. The transgender guy, remembered, and he called her pretty. She politely declined, saying she was not interested. No, thank you. About an hour later, he returned, shoved her to the ground, hit her over the head, and began to sexually assault her, according to an LAPD report and her own account of the incident. Again, I use her just to distinguish between the attacker and I don't even like this. This might be self-defense. The guy coming to inflict violence and the transgender guy who is receiving the violence. He allegedly stopped when he realized De La Pena was transgender. This is what I don't understand too. He allegedly stopped. What do you mean he came to beat the transgender guy, but then stopped realizing that the transgender guy was transgender? Anyway, are you a effing tranny, or maybe a F slur tranny. It's unclear in the censored version from the LA Times here. I'm going to kill you. Anyway, it seems like part of the story is missing between paragraph A and B here. This guy comes in, calls the transgender dude pretty, and then just comes back an hour later to violently attack him. Why? Because a proposition from an hour prior was refused? If the proposition was refused and the guy was angry about that, why doesn't he beat his ass upon refusal of the proposition? Why would he come back later to beat the ass? It would imply that contrary to the denial, there was some sort of interaction that happened. Then maybe his buddies, maybe somebody else are like, dude, that was a dude. He learned this piece of information. He became enraged and he returned to get his revenge. Anyway, let this be a lesson to all young men. As you say, just as a general rule, don't make or accept sexual propositions from 60-year-old convenience store workers in the hood of LA. It's just a good rule to live by.
Yeah, and if it's clearly a dude who looks like the witch from Hansel and Gretel or whatever, like don't.
What kind of malt liquor does this guy sell at this store that got these dudes drunk enough? Anyway,
I have to know. It has to be the greatest substance of all time.
There was entertainment value in this case too, like hood rat versus 60-year-old tranny skateboard fight, and they're lucky that nobody got Rittenhoused in this exchange, you know. But anyway, we'll see if more information comes out on that one. On the topic of proud transgenderism, Michelle Obama, otherwise known as Michael Robinson. I'm not saying that Michael Robinson is a man, though. I've seen the swinging inside. Maybe I am saying that. That's why I'm calling him Michael Robinson. I've seen the swinging inside of the pants on Ellen, but that's not actually the reason I bring this story up. It's not just like the alleged transgenderism of Michelle Obama or Michael Robinson. I'm saying that Michelle Obama himself or herself supports proud transgenderism. That's the actual context of this exchange. No matter what you think the true gender or sexual identity is. But Michelle Obama has a new podcast. Michelle Obama is hosting Marlon Wayans for a discussion this week. And Michelle Obama is praising Marlon Wayans for being a supportive father of a transgender child. Now, in context, it's clear what Michelle Obama is saying. But out of context and clipped this way, it sure does sound like Michelle Obama is offering his opinion as a black man.
I wanted to talk, Marlon, a bit about, just so proud of how you are being a role model for dealing with a child that's transgender.
Absolutely.
And that's, that warms my heart, particularly as a black man. Would you care to share that journey of?
Well, I learned.
Michelle Obama means you as a black man. The fact that you as a black man in a community that is kind of generally hostile to this sort of thing, it warms my heart that you, black guy, are open to this. But as a black guy, I have a lot of opinions. Thank you, Michelle Obama. Anyway, do you buy any of the theories at all? Like, what's your on the scale of 0 to 100, I believe the Michael Robinson theory. Where do you land?
I don't believe it's true, but I want to believe it's true because it is one of my favorite theories out there.
The most compelling thing to me about it is actually, the dick swinging is pretty compelling, although I've had that tried to be explained away. But have you ever seen I don't have it handy, but the side-by-sides of the Obama children and how much they look like two friends of the Obamas, as though the Obamas took the girls from those parents? I'm not saying they stole them, but as though the daughters are props installed into the Obama family to give the illusion of being a normal family. I got to send you this side-by-side because they really... I get it. Like, the two girls look plausibly like Barack and Michelle. One of them kind of looks more like Barack. The other kind of looks like Michelle. I'm not saying nothing like, I'm just saying it's kind of like, you ever see, what's the Clinton daughter's name? Chelsea. Chelsea's comparison to the former mayor of Little Rock. That's pretty compelling it's interesting to think about. So
yeah, or like Trudeau and Fidel Castro. Like, yeah. I believe that one. Those two look identical.
And Obama at one point, it might have been multiple times, called him Michael. You know, you don't say like the male version of your wife's name on accident. I don't know. It's definitely weird. But
it's
hey,
very weird.
Speaking of Canadian nonsense, one last point on transgender insanity, and then we'll call it a night. In Canada, I forgot about this, but now there's resolution, or at least there's an appellate court decision. In Canada, there's been this ongoing lawsuit from a transgender person, non-binary person called, KS. This is a photo of KS. In the legal proceedings, this person only goes by his initials, but he is a man. He wants to kind of transition to female through surgery, but again, is a non-binary person, okay? He's not fully male, he's not fully female, according to his own assessment. Now, in Canada, if you say, you know what, I'm a tranny, and I want to surgically become the other gender, Canada and their government healthcare plan, at least in Ontario, which is where this is happening, I don't know the specifics of how all this operates, but this case involves the healthcare plan as administered by the province of Ontario. That is covered. Like, okay, just, chop this off, scoop that out, that's covered. But at least it was thought to be only covered. You trade one for the other, okay? You have to hack yours off and they'll carve out the thing that you want. This guy wanted to keep both, okay? He wants new construction without demolishing the old building, if you know what I mean. Now that contains some additional anatomical questions that I'll address in a moment. But this week, it was announced KS has succeeded. He gets to keep his dick, and you Canadians have to pay to build him a vagina by scalpel.
Congratulations, butthead.
Or perhaps ice cream scoop. Yeah.
I don't know if this is too off color to ask, but like, does it go like above it or like beneath it? Like,
you're asking the right questions. You're fitting right in here. Glad. I will gladly field that question. Hold on. Did I not highlight it? Let me just run a search for the anatomical term scrotum. There we go. Yes. If you, so they carve it out right from the gooch. That's how this works. Okay. He wants a vagina constructed in the gap between his scrotum and his anus while keeping his fully functional male anatomy. And so now he's going to get it. The cost will be $70,000 for the surgery. Plus, he has to fly to the U.S., to Texas, to get the surgery because they don't even do this in Canada, which is its own interesting legal question here. Like, regardless of the nonsense, the degeneracy, the moral questions of doing this, the so-called right to healthcare, that includes taxpayers flying you to another place where the service is provided because it's not even provided in your country. I don't know if it's illegal in Canada or just technologically not achievable or why it's not offered in Canada. But this is the great contradiction. Like, a service or good is a human right. Well, what happens if the service or good is not provided by a willing person who produces it? In this case, you just fly them to another country, I guess. But that's crazy too. Like, you have a right to have the government fly you to a different country, a different jurisdiction to provide the healthcare service.
It's wild. There are people in Canada dying of cancers that could be cured if the procedures and surgeries and what have you would be done timely. But people literally die waiting, and they're spending $70,000 to fly this guy to Texas to like get a fancy, like, this is almost like a fancy piercing, if you will. Like, they're just putting a hole there.
Yeah.
For
just take the axe and hit him right in the gooch and call it a day. We don't need anything more fancy than that. Yeah.
This is wild.
It's also not, it's not just 70 grand. So it's the airfare. I don't know if they provide hotel. Is lodging included? I don't know if there's a meal plan. I don't know if there's a per diem, but I do know that the court also awarded this guy, KS, $23,000 plus dollars. And I don't know if is that like emotional distress? Is that what is that like? What is this fee? $23,000 for what? But
I mean, I assume the violation of his civil rights, right? Like that, this must have been like a violation of whatever would be their non-discrimination law of some kind, right?
God. So this decision was made by a 3-judge panel. This is in their appeals court system. The government had argued to deny the coverage on technicals of whether it's medically recommended. Again, their technical argument was like, well, sure, chopping one off and scooping out the other is medically recommended, but keeping one and scooping out the other is not. And the lawyers for KS successfully argued, I guess with the help of doctors who supported this, no, this is sound, this is medically sound. And so the judges found that to be convincing, but I don't know the details of the Canadian court structure. I'm assuming it's something like ours. This isn't over yet. This is like the equivalent of our appeals courts that could go up to the Supreme Court, as far as I gather. So the government, the Ontario, whoever's administering this Ontario healthcare plan, whoever the people in the dispute with KS are, the government organization, they can still appeal to the Canadian Supreme Court. They have until June 23rd to do that. Now, I assume the Canadian Supreme Court would have to accept the case, and obviously they'd have to overrule this lower court decision. As it stands now, like if the Supreme Court just doesn't hear the case or they agree, like this guy's going to Texas for an all expenses paid trip to get his gooch scooped out, because that is not just like humane, it's medically sound. It's like it's solid healthcare practice.
This is so wicked. Honestly, like, I don't know. I have no words for how twisted and wicked this is. I mean, this would be wrong no matter who's paying for it. I think that the doctors who do these surgeries should be prosecuted. I think that they're in violation of their professional duties. But on top of all of that, this is taxpayer paid. Dude, if you're into weird stuff, like, I'm sorry, you're on your own. Like, pay for your own extra hole.
Back in my day, you had to work hard and save up for your holes. Gonna be sitting on my porch playing my banjo, drinking my moonshine, reminiscing about the good old days when holes were less accessible and you had to work an honest living to obtain them. Anyway, all right. Any other thoughts on Canadian Holegate before we call it a night?
No, other than the fact that in that article it said she could keep her penis, and it's like, okay. Whoever writes that sentence.
Right there.
Yes.
It's the first sentence. You're right. I didn't even know it. First sentence in the article. We'll see her keep her penis. All right. Let me get back to YouTube and Tippy, because you guys have been very patient over there. Appreciate that. Let me see. Where did I leave off? Esoterica Unbound. We got Injured Guardian, the compromise for Ninja Kitty at all. When Rumble listens to us and fixes the rant delivery system, I will switch to Rumble. Meanwhile, I will endure Neil. Yeah, so this was with Ninja Kitty's call last week for people to support on Rumble. Yeah, I mean, I get it. Rumble still has some interface and user friendliness issues to resolve. And of course, I like Rumble from a creator perspective because they don't pocket the 30% YouTube Raja Mohan fee. But I understand for the same reason people choose to use YouTube generally, despite their censorship efforts. You know, whatever the place that is most convenient for you as a listener to watch, to listen, to interact with, I am more than thankful to have your viewership and your support there. So I appreciate everybody, whether you're just listening or whether you're chatting on YouTube or Rumble. You won't get any complaints from me. And of course, I won't accept any apologies for wherever you choose to support the show too. So not that you were, but just clarifying that for anybody else. Injured Guardian. Good news. This is the second one. I finally made the website show me the Bible study chapters covering Felix. I will listen later and discuss. PS, liquefy the Somali PDF file. I forgot. You can call them PDF files. How do you liquefy a digital artifact? I don't know. That's a good question from a physics perspective. I assume he's talking about our Bible study and talking about Felix, which we did recently in the context of Acts. That is a point. It probably would be nice if I had a way to like make it extremely searchable. Like you want to find when we talked about X or Y thing. I don't have that sort of function just yet, but maybe down the line, maybe someday. And but it's a good time to remind everyone, hey, if you enjoy Robert, and I promise you in the context of Bible discussion, he's, much more disciplined and professional. I'm really bringing out the worst of Robert here. If you want to listen to, Robert and I did 2 seasons of Bible study. We did John's Gospel. And when I say we, I mean Robert did it and I listened and interacted, right? So we did John's Gospel and then we just finished Acts. And so if you want some extra listening material, there's an entire podcast feed of, 50 episodes with other participants on Acts. And John's Gospel, I can't remember how many we did on that, but that was long too. So there's probably 100 hours of biblical listening material between Robert and me and members of the audience who have chosen to participate. So that's all on my website. If you want to take the biblical journey right alongside me and with under Robert's leadership, it's been awesome the last couple of years. All right, just a nod.
Oh, well, I agree with all of that. Yes, it is great. Everyone should listen to it.
It is the best Bible study. When we finished, not this Friday, but the Friday before, someone said, Matt's quickly going to find out, like, he had the Ferrari of Bible studies and now he's shopping for like a used Kia or something like that. No, I'm not. We have an it was a compliment. That sounds like it's taking a shot at the next guy. I'm very excited about our next Bible study leader too. We're going to resume the Bible study June 6th. And I'll make an announcement about that on the Bible study page of my website. There's information on how you can keep up with Bible study news, but it was a nice compliment for Robert. Like Robert is the Ferrari of Bible studies, and we'll see. Don't worry. I have another race car garaged that's ready to go. Robert endorses this guy. So I know he's legit.
He's phenomenal. Yeah. And I will say in Bible study, I try to be very fair and very nice, but tonight we're covering stories about a dude raping a dead body in the subway. Like, we all have limits. There comes a point where it's like, okay.
What would Jesus do? I mean, sure, he encountered a lot of unholiness. We've gone through those stories in John's Gospel and his reaction. Some of his reaction surprised me because it was a little more aggressive than Jesus has been presented to me. But if Jesus was on the subway, what would he have done to Mr. Was it Rojas from Mexico? I can't remember. Whatever his name was. Cisco, RIP White Guilt 5/1/2025. I think there's a lot of truth to that. And, whether this woman acted correctly in every specific way she did or not, for people to act like, oh, it's so awful and disgusting to support her, you're missing the broader context of what, like, this is not to discredit her, although, again, I'm not trying to hold her up as a hero either. Like, just because you say the N-word doesn't make you a hero or something. I'm just saying she's a meme. She is a metaphor. She is, it's not a metaphor because it literally happened, but you get what I mean? The symbolism that she represents is what people are gravitating toward. And you can like or dislike that, but I just, like, a lot of the pearl clutching about it, I think misses the point. Like, how much more of racial solidarity, but not like that? How much more of guilt on just because of your racial identity? How much more of this, like, we will browbeat you into submission because we're the power race and you're not? How much more are we going to put up with that before you just have, you know what? I'm saying it. I'm saying the word. I don't care anymore. Not only do I not care about looking racist, I'm going to be racist and I'm going to say the word. It's like if you, I don't know. If you're accused of something so many times, it's like, well, what difference does it make if I become that? Because you already believe that I am, so I might as well be. I don't know. It's kind of what's going on here.
If there's no winning, and they turned it into like the punk rock of our age, because if you want to like tell society to F off, what has society told you is like the one thing you can't do? This is it. So it's like, okay.
You can't tweet an N followed by an I followed by a G. Anyway, Gentleman Orc, people who get robbed shouldn't be expected to speak like diplomats. Yeah. Anyone who thinks Shiloh is in the wrong should try moving to her neighborhood and seeing how long their patience and composure last. That's the other part of the context that I would all but guarantee is true. I'm not saying I know this kid was routinely stealing out of her bag. Maybe, maybe not. I am saying I bet she's put up with a lot of shit before this day. I bet there's a lot of things that the people who are insisting that she behave better, that maybe they don't experience on a daily basis. I guarantee this mom has seen some stuff and dealt with some stuff at this park. You don't just go 0 to N-word because you can't stand the color of someone's skin or something like that. She's been through it. You can tell. And she's done.
Yep. I fully agree. Even before I knew more about the story, like before the stream, I was thinking about that. Like it sounds like maybe she may live in a rough part of town. Maybe she deals with this stuff all the time. Maybe she's on high alert because she doesn't feel safe with her kid in public, but she knows that whatever, she needs to go outside for.
Maybe she looked in the news. Oh, the county prosecutor is letting Somali rapists allegedly go. I ought to be on high alert about them if I see them. Here we are. Yeah. K. Burke. Miss Rachel, the kids show on YouTube. Yes, Miss Rachel.
Good job acting like a monkey.
That's her. She wanted Dylan Mulvaney of Bud Light fame on her show. That's when my daughter stopped watching Miss Rachel. Yes. Miss Rachel is very controversial in the kids entertainment community, my household included, for the same reasons. And that's all I'll say about Miss Rachel. Based on her content that I've seen myself, I don't find it to be overtly political. Like, she's not telling your kids, some families have 2 mommies and some families have 2 daddies. Maybe she has, I just haven't seen it. But it's the it's showing it without explaining it kind of stuff. Like, shouldn't we just put this transgender person on display?
That neutral exposure we discussed on Wednesday.
That's right. Yeah. Yes, exactly. On what basis would a parent object? It's just a story.
That's right.
Yeah. JL, Your Honor, by merely posting the letter N, my client could never have predicted that other users were going to spell it out. We're like a few years away from that. Seriously. And then, legally speaking, is it just the guy who posts the R? Is he responsible? Or is it everybody? It's a 6-letter word. So is it 17% responsibility per, or is like the guy who starts it? How do we assign culpability to the assembly of this N-word in that context?
I just hope this case happens and the defendants are referred to as the letter they posted, like Mr. N and Mr. I and Mr. G.
On or about this date, Mr. I did post. Ryan Allen, people have forgotten that racism isn't a crime, it's an opinion. I agree in full. That's why we have anti-discrimination laws. Discrimination is when we act on racism only in specific areas or ways. Yeah, I mean, even that, I think anti-discrimination law has been expanded and abused in ways that it shouldn't. That is to say, I think if you have property, you have association rights and property rights, and I don't think the state has any business compelling you to use those association or property rights in ways that you don't want to. And of course, that means that people could exercise their rights in ways that you don't think are good or wise or fair. But the counterpoint, does the government have ownership over some guy's business or home or community that he must include these people? No, they don't. And even if you think that they do, or there's some moral thing gained by the government coming in and saying, no, we will force this association, we will force this business, what improvement has been seen? Like, are race relations better today because of anti-discrimination law? If anything, it's another tool that people seek to abuse by doing things like hoax hate crimes and weaponizing that legal standard to try to get people. So anyway, I'm getting into the weeds. Your point is it's not a crime to hold a view. And of course it's not. Like, if you act on the view in a way that is damaging to someone, I hit you, I steal from you, I abuse your rights in some way or another, that's the crime. But the crime can't be, I hate you, you suck. Whatever the reason you might have for thinking that or saying that.
I fully agree. I think the civil rights movement effectively eradicated the freedom of association. It took it out of the Constitution. I mean, in almost no setting now do we actually have freedom to associate with the people we select. And I think that the idea of a hate crime is utterly unconstitutional. It is a violation of the freedom of religion. The crime is that I say that I kill you, but why I did it, that is constitutionally protected. Like if I killed you because I believe you were a demon, or if I killed you because you're of a certain race.
That's an interesting legal theory. I haven't heard it described in exactly that way. Like through the First Amendment, you have a constitutional right to your motive.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I despise that.
I hadn't thought about it in that way. I mean, I don't like it on principle that we just treat some motives as worse than others, insofar as I believe that opinions, I guess I would say that I do believe opinions have moral value. I wouldn't go as far as to say they don't, because of course the opinion that like killing people in cold blood is an opinion of no moral value or wrong morality. But from a government policing perspective, I don't think you can go around. You can't make a crime out of a bad opinion. And I think that's what you're talking about. Like we've decided that the motivating factor is some sort of what's the word I'm looking for? Something's not mitigating in the law. It's aggravating.
Oh, yeah.
It's an aggravating factor.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we do make distinctions in the law between motive or not, of course. Like if I intentionally kill you, that is legally different from like, whoops, I hit you with my car, even if I was being negligent or something like that.
Yeah. But in almost no other setting would we ask why did I intend to kill you, right? What matters is that I intended to kill you, but we wouldn't ask, did I intend to kill you because I hated you, because I loved you, because I was thinking this, that, or the other. It's only really in this setting that we go, why did you intend that? Oh, it was because of race, and this is something different. No, that belief to me is protected like any other belief that one has.
Interesting theory. I like the way you put that because I think it makes a lot of sense. But over 50s COD Club, I assume Call of Duty. This is a bad super chat. Please say something stupid. I was coerced into sending this. Are you sure you want to ask me to say something stupid? I got monkey sounds. I got... I'm
going to be honest with you. I'm kind of retarded.
That's pretty stupid. I got a lot of things at my disposal. Anyway, thank you, Mr. Over 50s COD Club. Give a quick refresh here.
I think your monkey sounder is the most offensive sounder you have.
I got it from a children's show. What are you talking about?
Like, if I tried to put myself in the situation of a black person being called insults, like I would 1,000 times prefer to be called an N-word, like hard R and everything, than somebody make those noises at me.
I'm not saying I would. I'm just saying Miss Rachel in this is actually like the best use of Miss Rachel that has ever existed, I would say. Anyway, Esoterica Unbound. Shiloh was the first major bloodbath of the war. Okay, the South won the first day. The North won the second day. 3,500 were killed outright and another 16,000 wounded. Made Ulysses S. Grant a household name. Okay, so it was, if you were to apply it in this situation, I assume we'd say this was... So I know that it wasn't the opening shots of the Civil War, but kind of. Is the great playground N-word going to be what prompts Civil War II? Is that what we're looking at? And I don't know. Will it be as bloody?
Yeah, the great meme war of 2025.
Tortuga says, is transgenderism a religion? It sure seems like the new church of urology. Thank you for cleaning up the humor around here a little bit. I mean, I guess it depends on your definition of religion, but getting back to the topic of morality and the Bible and scripture, I mean, that's what led me on this journey under Robert's leadership over the last few years is like, well, everyone has a moral framework. Everyone has a set of rules that they follow according to a set of values. whether you acknowledge it or not, you're getting your judgments that you make about what is good and bad in terms of behavior and a life lived from somewhere. So to me, I feel like I have a sense of what's right and wrong, but I don't know where that comes from. Where does it come from? Why do I have that? That's what led me. I mean, seems like people have had some answers that tend to square with a life well lived when they look at Christianity. And so I've gone that route. But there's no doubt that like those, if that's your definition of religion, like what is the origin of the moral framework you follow? A lot of this progressive nonsense has those sort of characteristics. I don't mean to equate them because I don't consider them of similar value. I mean, if the definition is what establishes your moral framework, then yes, these have very religious-like qualities to them.
I agree. I mean, it is a metaphysical claim at the end of the day. And it either needs, like the soul, it needs to believe that the soul of the person is so detached from its body that it can be in the wrong body. So it relies on these like very deep metaphysical claims, or you know, well, or some other system along those lines. And so I do think that at the end of the day, here we are not talking science. We are giving government protection to somebody's very unusual metaphysical assumptions and conclusions.
Thank you, Tortuga. Bull's Dip. Very nice show. Cheers.
We love you. You're very special.
Appreciate it. Ryan Allen says, Matt, I meant the Ferrari comment for like at your church if you do a Sunday school. Was that you, Ryan? Did you say that? If you do a Sunday school Bible study, not Rev Rogers or anyone else, just general prep depth. Yeah, I know you weren't taking a shot at our next Bible study leader, Rev Rogers. I absolutely know that. I just wanted people who aren't familiar with the comment not to interpret it that way. Because as I was saying, it was like, oh crap, that sounds like an insult. It's not. It's a compliment to Robert. I just thought it was funny, you know? So thank you for that. Esoterica Unbound, you seem to have blown off my first super chat to make more room for N-bombs. Or is it just bigotry against old nerdy dad jokes? Did I miss it? Let me see. It's possible it just didn't feed in. Oh, I must have just missed it. I'm glad that you referenced it because I think I just accidentally skipped it. Esoterica Unbound earlier says, even more than others, this would be the date to stay away from unsolicited carnal relations with poorly lit strangers. It's a trap. Oh, but that wasn't necessarily about ends. N-bombs, whatever he said. I got to be careful. Or maybe not. That was about the trap. But yes, maybe that explains what happened with the LA shop owner. Maybe the lighting was very, very bad. Anyway.
But I do feel like these crimes have finally settled the internet question of, are traps gay?
Yes.
Because the answer seems to be yes, and I will kill you for it.
Yeah. If you don't think they are, look at every guy who has suffered this fate of, accepting services under unclear circumstances. Nobody asks, well, wait, like how attractive or convincing was the tranny though? Anyway, Esoteric Unbound, if I missed another one of your chats, I apologize on that. That could be me, or sometimes the system I have to aggregate the chats, something goes haywire there and I miss it. So as always, if I miss your chat, send me an email. I can get you a refund. Apocalypse Wow. So what was the guy who recorded the incident doing at the playground all by himself? Now, maybe he had the kid. Yeah, we don't know. Pretty sus considering his past. I agree. We need to know the circumstances, because if you can show me his son was there, all right, I'm still not saying I trust the guy, because I don't, but at least it does make sense why he's there. If he was there by himself, that is
straight to jail.
Yeah, that is the reddest of flags. That is, liquefy that PDF file, as the prior chatter said. Okay, I think we're all set. We have maybe one more over on Rumble here. Dangerous Spaces, our friendly producer, says, there's a couple over on Rumble here. Palatine. Or Palatine. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing. Matt and I once made love on the subway. I was dead, but I was able to raise.
Come on, man.
But I was able to raise $500,000 on GiveSendGo for the violation. So I opened a weekend-only nightclub in Colorado. That's connecting all the dots there. High effort.
I just want to say, if his chat had been, Matt and I once made love in the subway, I was dead, period. Greatest super chat of all time.
If you would have told me there's a context in which that makes sense, yeah, it'd be hard to predict. Dangerous spaces. Okay, now, how tired of this topic are you? Have you had enough of this? I know it's, okay.
Are we talking sex in the subway?
Yeah, we're talking the dead body incident.
Okay.
I guess in the context of our Bible study, we have not talked, we've talked about, I suppose, the idea of God's kingdom and eternal life. But to my recollection, maybe you can correct me, I don't remember talk of the specifics of, say, the afterlife. Like, can you observe the day-to-day happenings of maybe your loved ones or of all earthly things? Or like, can you watch what happens to your body? And if this guy who's like, oh, whoops, I had a heart attack. All right, I'm like on my way to the afterlife, looking back. What? No, hey, stop, leave that alone. No, put that away. Zip my pants back up. Do you get to watch your body be desecrated? And I'm asking you from a biblical scriptural perspective.
So I would say from a biblical standpoint, we're not really sure. It is extremely clear what happens at the end of the story, the new heavens and the new earth. What happens in the meantime, we're told that believers are with Christ and that it is a wonderful thing. In fact, Paul says, I would rather be with Christ than essentially be here now, but I've got a job to do. And I'm paraphrasing, so people can look up the verse. But we're not really given details. Of course, many people pray to the saints or with the saints, so they think that the saints can listen to them. But that is not to say that people in heaven can see everything. So really what I can honestly say is we are not told. Hopefully this guy did not see that on his way up to heaven.
God. Yeah, I'll agree on that. Sorry to put you on the spot for that one. I just figured it's a point that deserves a little clarity. Never a question I would have expected to ask, but here we are. You know, Robert can handle all your all your theological questions with class and quality information. All right. Dangerous Spaces says, something that frustrates me is when people conflate educated and smart. Educated just means formally learning something. You can be badly or inaccurately taught something and be technically educated. Yeah, I mean, we're looking at propaganda factories in our education system now. And the true measure of intelligence is not like some sort of encyclopedia-style knowledge or recall ability, though I suppose smart people do have a good ability to absorb information and deliver it back. But when you think of someone who's intelligent, you really think of someone who can solve a problem, someone who can look at an incomplete set of information and think creatively about how to resolve it or how to... You're talking about people doing analysis, assembling information, not just spitting information back out. That's what intelligence is. It's more interactive than just like robot input output, for sure. Dangerous Spaces also says, when the media keep referring to illegal aliens as just a man, I find it hard not to become incredibly enraged at such journalistic malpractice. How dare they just assume their gender like that? That's true. How do we even know the man is a fair descriptor? Nobody asked him.
Yeah, maybe her penis was female.
We're going with person. Person accused of abusing body on the subway.
I noticed that in the headline of the non-binary Canadian, because normally that would, you would add the word man or woman, like you would say Canadian man, Canadian woman. But in this case, no. Non-binary Canadian, period.
I missed some from Blankets, more quality memes. May the 5th be with you. It's Darth Vader chucking some Jack Daniels. So I guess you get that party tomorrow. Blanket says, Matt, did you see the video of the Chinese woman saying the N-word? I played it earlier, so but I don't know the context. That's the first time I've seen it. Matt, do you think the video of the Indian woman saying the N-word was the beginning of a trend, people showing their black fatigue? Well, I can't deny the energy right now. I mean, I don't know, man. I guess I I would say I've never seen so many hard RNs openly dropped, but it's like, well, this has existed in rap music or other contexts for years and years. So, I mean, I kind of have. It's just I've never seen non-black people dropping the word in what is a hostile context as many. Maybe it's just because it wasn't on the internet as much in times prior, but like, I don't know. I've been on the internet for a decade now, paying close attention, and I've not seen hard R's floating around like they're floating around right now. People are like, all right, it's kind of like, an escalating war. Like I've got the nuke. I don't want to use the nuke. Okay. But now that some nukes have been deployed in turn, like we're going to, all right, the war is nuclear. I'm dropping the hard R bomb and I don't care. It's kind of what we're watching right now.
And I suppose some of this, it kind of checks out with a higher influx of foreigners, because foreigners don't have the same qualms about this. I mean, I think this is fair to generalize. When foreigners look in, essentially, they think about the United States, they realize that everyone here was born in paradise. I mean, black people included. They are born in the greatest country on earth. No doubt about it. Like people who are like, oh, some countries in Europe. No. That's why everyone is coming here specifically. And so if anything, when I think when most foreigners think of black people who they are throwing away that opportunity and then complaining like they're victims, I mean, they don't get any pity. None at all. So if they think that some Indian woman or some Chinese woman or from anywhere else is going to feel any sort of remorse for calling them that, not a chance.
Blankets. Yeah. Okay. I see some duplicate chats. Sorry. I missed these earlier because they were buried under all your quality memes. So thank you for that. And thanks for supporting the show. I appreciate it. All right. All set on D-Live, all set on Rumble. Give a quick refresh on YouTube and Tippy. But hey, you helped me kill 3 hours, my friend. That went by very quickly, but it was, like your last Wednesday stream appearance, quality topics with a lot of layers to unpack. So anything else you want to talk about before we're out of here?
No, thank you for the opportunity to co-host. And, people should check out the Bible study with Reverend Rogers. He is phenomenal. He's the Lamborghini of Bible study leaders.
There you go. And I should ask, is there anything else you want to promote? You can always hijack my stream to promote whatever you want. But, after tonight, you might want to keep eyes off of you, I guess. But
I have nothing. I've never had a Twitter account. I have nothing. I'm just like the most plain vanilla person that ever was.
There's a Discord out there somewhere because you used to call the show.
Yeah.
Somewhere there's a Discord account, Feds, if you want to pick that up. All right. Well, we will call it there. Thanks for tuning in tonight. Thanks to our live chatters and super chatters for making the live show a success. Thanks again for your patience tonight, guys. I know it took me a while to get to those chats. If you're listening on demand later, thank you kindly as well for supporting the show. Thanks to my guest, NeoUnrealist. His YouTube and Rumble links are in the description if you'd like to check him out. Thanks to Robert for sitting in. Thanks to producer Tim for his continued assistance. If you'd like more to listen to, you can check out the podcast page on my website, mattchristiansenmedia.com/podcasts. You'll get the video show. You'll get the audio show if you prefer to listen to your audio or to your podcast. But as Robert was saying, you can get the Bible study over there too. Hours and hours and hours of scriptural listening with Robert leading the way. Anything else show related, mattchristiansenmedia.com is where you find it, or mattis.gay if you prefer brevity. I'm back on Sunday and Wednesday nights. Of course, have a great night and a great week.
But